Sounds so good.
Feel like something cool about to happen. All right.
That went for a while. Got to hear lyrics that time.
Yeah, I extended it.
Extended.
Yeah, I changed the fade just a little bit. Just a little bit. Ooh, that looks cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I know what I'm doing tomorrow at work.
All right. So this is Who Are They? Who is they?
Who is they?
I'm Josh,
I'm Kelly.
and yeah.
Who
So
is
what-
they?
Who is they?
I don't know.
They're always telling us something, telling us what to do.
But you know what they've been saying lately?
I don't know what have they been talking about lately.
They have been talking about all these remakes
Mm-hmm.
of movies these days.
Oh, and reunions.
And reunions. So bands get back together, and Hollywood runs out of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like these things sort of like a double helix. They kind of like happen at the same time. So lately, I have noticed there have been some really good ones and some really bad ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually the really bad ones that kind of like, well, we were just talking about Carrie, like
Right.
you didn't even know there was a 2002 one. That's because it was so shitty. likely.
Right.
Hence why I can never really remember it either. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it was when they came out, like you said, 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Yeah, 2012.
It was good, right?
Yeah. It wasn't
okay?
good.
It
I heard
wasn't
it was
good.
terrible.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, yeah.
I haven't seen any of them. There's apparently three Carrie movies based on one book. And the book is very short. I just read the book 2 weeks ago. It's so short. It could be like, a half-hour movie.
Well, it got tossed out. Like, I mean, that was like he threw that in the garbage.
Yeah.
And his wife was like, no. So, I don't know. I read the book years ago, and I've always liked the book just because, and I like the original movie just because,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just sort of like they made those remakes because, well, we can have more blood.
Yeah. We can always
can-
put more blood in
We
it.
can do this and we can do that, and I don't know, that shit just kind of annoys me.
Yeah.
It really does. So, but that's just one little Lego piece to the whole
Mm-hmm.
to the whole tower of remakes. And you recently saw, would you call the new Mad Max a remake?
See, we've talked about this. I don't know. I wouldn't say that it's not a remake.
It's not a reboot.
But the thing is, I haven't watched the original trilogy since I was a kid. And I really want to pick it up and watch it again. But so I don't know exactly if it borders that remake, reboot line. From what our friend Chris Davis was talking about the other day, he was saying that Max is really almost a secondary character in these movies. Like, he's not the focus.
Yeah.
That's how this new one is as well. Charlize Theron's character, Furiosa, is basically the main
That's kind of how
person.
Thunderdome was. And,
Right. So,
Road Warrior.
and I heard people kind of complain about that, but if it's still following that same paradigm, then Max is he's just there. He just kind of comes in and out. And that's how Fury Road was. He was there, but it wasn't focused solely on Max.
Well, I think that's why it's getting like. To me, this movie definitely had the potential to be bad, and I have not seen it yet. But the things I've read about it is that like all like the stuff you see in there is actually built.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are actual sets built. Even though
and
it's
the
like,
cars are incredible. Like,
And-
somebody built every single one of those vehicles.
and that's where I'm kind of like this. It's not a remake. It's not a reboot. It's not it's not a sequel per se.
Right.
It's not a prequel. It's just another movie to go with the other ones.
Right.
We have the same director and everything. I guess that's I guess that's hardly any of those other things. But that's what they've been telling me is that I think you really like it because they actually built things for the movie. Like, it's not this like, oh, let's just green screen the hell out of it, and
Right.
make it look cool, and pay
Let's do
some,
all this in a studio instead of.
you know.
No, they didn't. They probably didn't step foot inside a studio for this movie. It was all outdoors.
Well, I love it how like now these days there is that distinction of, well, if you're gonna spend $1 billion on a movie, you might as well build something while you're at it.
Mhm.
I guess 'cause like nobody wants to pay some kid computer programmer to animate shit
Mhm.
anymore because it doesn't cost them it. Because Joe Schmo like you and me can just do it right here.
Right.
I can make my own CGI movie if I wanted to of my dick.
Right.
Pop out on the screen, just piss on everyone.
Right.
But saying like, but if I was like this guy, I'll build a dick,
Right.
mechanical,
Like an
one.
animatronic dick.
Animatronic, yeah.
Right.
Piss, so
Piss.
But that's just another. Once again, it's another one in this like cosm of these Legos that keep stacking up, and the one that I heard about, and when I read about it, I actually rushed out to buy the original because I realized I did not own it, and I wanted my kids to like somewhat experience it. Was Flight of the Navigator, even though that's not been made yet. It's kind of been like an on again, off again thing.
Is it still? I haven't heard anything about it
It's
lately.
still on.
It's still like there.
Only this time, they've tapped the guy that directed Safety Not Guaranteed,
Okay.
a time travel movie. They they tapped him to write and direct it, or one of the other.
Okay.
And that's like the new news on it. And I saw Safety Not Guaranteed, and
It's good.
It was really good, and it was a movie that revolved around the characters, and had little to do. Well, it had plenty to do. The time travel was the secondary part of it, you know, and so that comes later in the movie. But like, he seems like the kind of guy that he could do something character driven. Instead of like, oh, we have unlimited resources now, we can make this movie look better than the original. And I think that's the kind of the reason why I wanted to cover this topic at remakes, is that sometimes a remake shouldn't exactly go that route. You should just Fly the Navigator to me should just be the same movie, only presented
like more clean.
Yeah, in a more modern setting. You
Right.
know, presented to, let's give my kids the same experience that we had. Because maybe they'll watch the original and, I mean, they'll notice that it's dated. They'll notice that, like, this shit is Twisted Sister doing in this movie,
Right.
And a very, very, very young,
Horseface.
yeah. I was trying to avoid saying that, Sarah Jessica Parker, and I mean, trying to avoid that, And they'd be like, "What's this Sex and the City chick doing in this movie?"
Right.
And so
I'd be like, "What's Matthew Broderick's wife doing in this movie?"
Yeah, she has no career.
Yeah,
and,
no one's gonna say that.
Yeah, so
No, because they're not gonna know who Matthew Broderick is anyway.
Your
kid's
will.
better.
My
but
kids will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, this is Ferris Bueller. This is War Games.
I have Ferris Bueller downstairs in the shrink wrap still,
Yeah.
preserving that DVD for the day that they are capable of handling the awesomeness of that movie. That's another one that should never be remade.
Oh, I don't think it would ever be remade.
Ever. That's like remaking The Sound of Music
Or
or
Wizard of
something,
Oz, yeah.
or Life Wonderful. It's a
Once
Wonderful Life.
Which
I
they've
mean-
talked about that,
Yeah, they've talked about it.
which is not good.
No.
I read something, just to go off topic here for a second, that Ferris Bueller, that movie, is all a manifestation of Cameron's delusion. Like, everything that happens is inside Cameron's head.
I think you can easily argue that.
I think it's just a cool idea,
But what I had always, and see, to me, if they remade Ferris Bueller, I think they would play up what I think was the original intention of the movie, was that Cameron actually tries to kill himself.
Right.
And Ferris goes through all this trouble to show him, hey, life's worth living. I'm gonna show
Yeah.
you, because in the
It's
original,
not about Ferris; it's about Cameron.
Yeah.
yeah,
in the original script, Sloane was Cameron's sister.
okay,
So there's like, and a lot of that stuff got changed. Like there were actually more Bueller children who actually help him out,
okay.
and that stuff was actually cut out of the movie. And
I didn't know that.
yeah, there was like 2 other Bueller children, younger children, and they were kind of in on everything, and and so all of these things that kind of add up. And you start to think like, okay, and then and one of the other I read this a while back, and the guy that was kind of theorizing about it said that like it seemed like at the time that it seemed like too heavy of a topic.
Yeah.
To at least to put into a type of movie, because what's his name was on a roll. John Hughes was on a roll.
Oh yeah.
At that time, so it seemed to me that would be it's like the whole idea that he's sick, and he convinces him to go. It's like, okay, that's funny. Like he talks him into it. It seems like he has this power over him.
Yeah.
As friends. But I always thought if they remade that movie, they would have to play up the suicide aspect of it.
Right.
Like really play that up. Because I think that would be more relevant now. And I think that it's not such a heavy topic anymore. It's something that I think audiences could handle.
Yeah.
So that's my what if.
Mm-hmm.
But Broderick had already said he would never do a sequel unless. And then that unless is, he says him and the actor that played, can't forget his name.
Alan Ruck, yeah.
Him and Alan Ruck would have to be like in their 80s and 90s. And he said that we would pretty much do everything that happens in the first movie, only it's just a disaster because we're like 90 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and so that and he said that we would be in a nursing home, we break out of the nursing home, and like, and
yeah.
like, okay, that's the dumbest idea.
Yeah, that doesn't sound great.
But in some way, it's the only way that would ever work.
Yeah.
But
or just never happen.
Apparently, apparently there was never, ever a sequel or a discussion for a sequel.
Good.
It's never come up. It's and I love it.
Yeah. Well, that's what's great. I was gonna say about like Navigator. It is timed. It is dated. So even remaking it now would. I don't think it would lose anything, but I just don't know if it would hold up. We've got so many technologically superior movies now that this little idea wouldn't be as as I can't hear anything.
Oh, can't?
No.
There was like a buzz.
Okay. It's back.
You get it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there was a buzz, and it's because the jack wasn't in all the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why it worked when you put it all the way in.
But you're good.
I'm good now.
Okay, cool.
So, I don't know that. Of course, I would go watch it. Every 30-something-year-old would go watch that movie, but I don't know if it would hold up as much, compared to like the Avengers or even movies that are 10 years old. Now.
Well, some stuff just doesn't warrant. I think just doesn't warrant a sequel or a revisit. I just don't. I don't see how.
Right. Well, there's no need for it.
Yeah. That's why I say Hollywood's running out of ideas.
Yeah. It's great as it is. Like, we don't need to remake The Goonies. We don't need to remake Gremlins. These are great movies on their own. We don't need to bring them back.
Are they gonna do Gremlins again?
I'm just saying.
Okay.
I probably. It's probably in somebody's mind.
Yeah.
But I have no knowledge of this. I'm just saying we don't need these remakes or sequels to these movies because they're great as they are. As they stand.
You know what? One of my favorite remakes though is, and it wasn't exactly better than the original, but it was just in the updated setting, the movie made more sense. And that's why I think that it works, because that way you can honestly say that the original was ahead of its time. Was Flight of the Phoenix.
I don't know that.
So Jimmy Stewart was in the original one.
Okay.
And Dennis Quaid was in the remake. And it's this plane. about this people are on a freight plane and it
Mhm.
crashes, and they think they're gonna die, and there's a dude on board who says, "No, I design airplanes. We can rebuild this and get this thing flying." And they sort of work together to rebuild it, only to find out that the guy who says he builds airplanes, oh, he makes airplanes all right, model airplanes.
Oh.
And but it's kind of this whole thing where he was sort of like, I did the math. All I did was scale it up. It can work. You know, all you gotta do is turn the engines on. You know, it's like, you know, Giovanni Ribisi is this kind of the weird airplane guy.
No, not weird guy in the movie.
I
Not
melt
Ribisi.
stuff. You know, so I mean, but like when you watch the original has Jimmy Stewart in it and a bunch of other people I don't know, but it works and it's cool, you know. And then it's the same movie. I mean, it's the same movie,
Right.
only presented to us now. It's it makes a little more sense,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore I feel like the original is a little bit ahead of its time, you know. But now it's kind of like, okay, you know, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, you know.
I've
And
never
s-
heard of it.
And to me, that's what, if you're going to do a remake, you have to sort of like, you have to keep a lot of the original, because all you're doing is updating it, you know.
Right.
I mean,
Unless you do, I really thought you were gonna say Psycho.
I mean,
because that was a. Oh, okay. I recognize the poster. 2004. Psycho was a shot for shot remake.
shot.
Like everything was exactly the same.
I didn't notice.
I mean, I just read that.
I didn't notice.
Hugh Laurie was in that. That's cool.
I mean, Psycho was cool. The original was
I
cool.
like the original, but I mean
I think that
it's not necessary. You know, that movie wasn't necessary with Vince Vaughn and.
it was just more blood in it.
No, it was like the exact same movie. Like everything was exactly the same. It was just like colorized with modern people.
Yeah,
in
it just
like all the cool shots, like him falling down the stairs, like all that was.
But I think that's where, like, you know, Flight of the Phoenix, I think, is another one. Is one of those movies where, like, you know, we don't know it as a classic.
Right.
You know, but it was just this movie. But like Psycho is this thing that's sort of like, how dare you? It's like remaking The Birds.
Right.
You know, which I'm actually surprised they haven't remade. There's other Hitchcock movies. I'm actually surprised they haven't tried to remake.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly just because I think that Psycho's not one that could warrant a modern setting, even though they did it, and it's fine. You watch it; it's Psycho. I mean, it is what
Right.
it is. It didn't. I didn't think it was like spectacular, just because it's like, oh, you literally remade Psycho.
Mm-hmm.
But if they remade, say, well, they did do a Rear Window remake, but like, if you remade like North by Northwest or something like that, you know, or
Mhm.
Strangers on a Train, you know, or something, you know, something where like Strangers on a Train could definitely be one where, well, you got a little more technology now. You can actually do more on the train.
Right.
You can actually film better scenes. You know, you can actually,
Mhm.
as long as the story stayed the same. You know, none of this changing shit. You know, I hate that. You know.
But that's the thing with, with Hitchcock. You don't want to remake it because he was kind of innovative in his style anyway. You know, like he was
Right.
Hitchcock. You know, he did certain things that.
He was ahead of his time.
Right. You know, it's like remaking Kubrick or, in 30 years
Ahead of
somebody
his time.
remaking like.
Did you see the Lolita remake with Jeremy Irons?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, keep it that way.
Right.
Just keep it that way. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
And that's all I'm going to say about
Yeah.
it.
I mean, you're right. That's like remaking 2001 or something like that.
Gus Van Sant did Psycho. Did the
Really?
remake, yeah.
He's weird.
I don't like him.
You don't like Gus Van Sant?
No.
I mean, I'm not-
I like him in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, but that's
I
about
like
it.
Good Will Hunting.
That's probably the only. What I didn't like was Elephant. Did you see that?
Yeah.
That was like
I saw that when it came out.
The Columbine.
Yeah.
like, whatever. Yeah, that movie
And then,
lost
did
me.
you see the one he did Last Days?
I didn't see anything after Elephant.
It's
and
like-
I refused to.
It's so like, why don't you just call this a fucking Cobain movie?
right,
Because the main character's name is Evan, and I kind of thought like,
and he
is that-
looks just like Cobain.
like
No.
Jesus, you know, like
right. Come on.
you know, and Yeah, and that's Van Zandt for you. But I mean,
Yeah.
you know, but kind of moving on. In terms of just remakes, one of my favorite directors has attempted to remake several movies. Tim Burton.
Right.
And I really question why sometimes.
Because he's on Disney's very short leash. I mean, everything that he makes now is for Disney. You know his next movie, right?
No.
It's a live action Dumbo.
I'd actually like to see that.
Uh,
I'd actually like to see that.
I don't know.
I love Dumbo, dude.
Did you see Big Eyes?
Yeah, it was great.
Was it?
Yeah,
I
it
need
was
to
really
see
good.
it.
Really good.
I heard it was decent. I need to see
Really
it.
good.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I like Dark Shadows. I thought that was cool.
I didn't. We didn't make it through Alice in Wonderland.
I never saw it.
I rented it. We watched 30 minutes of it, then I turned it off.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw Charlie and Chocolate Factory in the theater.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, you remade Charlie and Chocolate Factory. He originally wanted to cast Marilyn Manson. And I'm
What
like,
a terrible idea.
Yeah, that's weird, you know. It's just a strange idea
Yeah.
of, you know, you just trying to get people to get pissed off about this, you know.
Right.
But it was just another one of those. But he changed so much about Charlie and Chocolate Factory, you know. I thought, like, you know, was Roald Dahl like rolling over in his grave or something?
Well, I mean, it was a lot. You know, it was very true to the book.
Just
Like he even took the Oompa Loompa songs. Everything that Deep Roy sang in the movie is in the book.
right.
Like they're the same lyrics.
I don't know. It was just. It wasn't as good.
Well, it wasn't because Roald Dahl helped write the screenplay for Willy Wonka.
For the Willy Wonka, yeah.
And that's awesome.
Yeah. He had a lot to do with that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, but you know, Planet of the Apes, you're just sort of like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah. That's what you get for putting Marky Mark in a movie.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
You know?
Do a different version of that, you know?
Well,
Like,
James and the Giant Peach is really cool, but that was just another adaptation, you know, of a
Mhm.
children's book. And
well, if you keep it
yeah.
animated, it's a lot better.
right.
I like it that way.
Yeah, Big Fish was really good.
Big Fish was great.
You know.
It was an original idea.
But I really start to wonder, just sort of like, you know, like, dude, you know, it seems like you were on a roll there for a while, you know, but I don't know.
He's been a Disney boy since the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, and they keep because I'm sure they probably franchised or financed Frankenweenie. He remade his own
Which
idea.
is funny.
He's like the king of remakes. Remade his own movie.
But I think it's interesting though, because when you see a Burton remake, it looks like a Tim Burton movie.
yeah.
It's like if we were to do like if he was to direct It's a Wonderful Life, Danny Elfman would do the music.
Yeah. Johnny Depp would be Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart and his soon-to-be ex-wife would play. She totally, dude. Yeah,
She wouldn't be in it.
yeah. He cast her.
She wouldn't do it.
He
That's
cast
the thing.
her.
He cast her, but she wouldn't do it. I think she's got more integrity than that.
I think it's just so indicative of him would be to have her in that, you know.
Right.
No, she'd play like the whore, like the friend that's like the hoe, you know, like
Nah, she wouldn't do it.
Violet. Yeah,
I guarantee she would say, "Fuck you."
they're divorced anyway.
Right. Well, they never married.
They're never married. They
Yeah,
had like
but
4
they're
kids
not
together.
Yeah.
And
But they
she
always lived in separate
and
houses.
she lived next door.
Yeah.
She made him buy the house next door
Yeah.
to keep all his shit. You know.
And Danny Elfman, he stays there too.
Yeah.
And Johnny Depp when he's in town.
It's like, yeah, weird relationship. But like,
Mhm.
that's the thing is like if he were to do that or just name any movie, like if you rename Rocky, remake Rocky, it would just be like this like, it'd be dark.
Mhm.
It'd be have all this crazy coloring and lighting.
Yep.
Danny Elfman would do the music.
Yep.
And Johnny Depp would play Rocky.
Yep.
You know, or maybe Mark Wahlberg. Who knows?
Oh God, I hope not.
You know, like
That's
I think
terrible.
that's what would be like the, you know, and I know part of me wonders if he wants to like, you know, if he does these things to sort of like prove to the world, like, hey, I can do whatever the hell I want.
No, he does it for the money.
Well, yeah, someone's paying him too, but like,
Yeah,
yeah,
but I think he ran out of creativeness after Nightmare Before Christmas.
probably because it was such a labor-intensive film.
Mm-hmm. Now he just phones it in because, well, he's got so many cronies now that know the Tim Burton style that
Yeah.
he doesn't have to, you know.
Not very many people use the same everything
Right.
for every movie. Not everyone's lucky like that. They can achieve what they want. Just by
Mhm.
having the same lighting director in every single one of your movies.
Yeah.
Or,
Same director of photography.
or having Danny Elfman and Danny Elfman do all the music for every single one of your movies.
Mm-hmm. But it's weird because some of the movies like Big Fish and Big Eyes, they don't have Johnny Depp in them, which is strange because he's usually,
He's probably off doing Pirates.
yeah,
Couldn't get him at the time.
that's okay.
Yeah, but with all those, I could take him and leave him. I really can. Because
Yeah.
it's just the remake aspect of it. It's like, I like the original. So what else have we had on the plate here with remakes? I mean, it seems like it's been remake city, especially for the last 15 years.
I don't know, but there's always a lot of sequels. Like this year, there's only a handful of like original movies
Right.
coming out.
We're all excited about Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I mean everybody's excited about Star Wars. Even after that second trailer come out, even people that aren't like huge Star Wars fans, they saw that and they were like, "Oh no, Star Wars looks pretty awesome."
We'll have to see that. Well, Star Trek,
I'm indifferent.
as in you liked it or you didn't.
I never got into the show. The movies, I could watch the movies. But I'm not foaming at the mouth, ready for them.
I went to see them. That's
Yeah.
all I could say.
I'm not a a fanboy. I don't know the lore, the
They were
history.
cool.
I mean, they're cool, yeah, but
It kind of Tony kind of looked at it because Tony's a big Star Trek fan, and even Drew's a big Star Trek fan. But Tony kind of looked at it as like it was time.
mhm.
Let's not have another TV show. Let's not have another this. Let's just make another movie.
Right.
It's been a while since we had a Star Trek movie, and it was just time and time to start over too. Instead of this being like generations continuing,
Right.
just time to start over. And I think that's why I liked it. It's just just start over. It's an alternate timeline, kinda alternate storyline. It doesn't fit into anything else. It just start over.
Right.
And just give people something cool to watch. And that's really what it is. I mean, no one gives a shit about Captain Kirk. They just want to see the ships and the explosions and the aliens.
Well, these ideas that we're speaking purely come from a place of untrekkiness, because
Yeah.
you and I are both not Trekkies, so
By no means.
we're, we can say this where it's like nobody gives a shit about Kirk. A lot of people give a shit about Kirk.
Right.
We don't give a shit about
I don't
Kirk.
give a shit.
That's why I kind of enjoyed. I haven't seen Into Darkness, but I did enjoy the first.
That's cool.
The first one, yeah. I am a little bit more excited about the third one because Simon Pegg's writing it. So, and that guy's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of excited about that. But like I said, I'm indifferent. I could take it or leave it. But
Yeah.
it's something, and it's eye candy. I can watch it.
I saw it in 3D. I saw Into Darkness on 3D.
Yeah.
It was cool.
It's just got that James Abrams lens flare though. There's so much flare. I know that he's toning it down for Star Wars, but it was just really in your face,
Well,
the first Star Trek.
I find it interesting just from the trailer of Star Wars with the Millennium Falcons flying through the desert.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, oh, that's something new we haven't seen.
Right.
The Millennium Falcon in the daytime.
Oh yeah.
You don't see that too often.
Mm-mm.
So
It's always just in space. There's no daytime in
Yeah.
space.
And kind of going back, like I would go back to the whole Star Wars thing is being the first three, the only three that we had for so many years, and then we were given 3 prequels that you know, to us weren't up to par, but people still love them and think they're awesome, you know. And so, it's also why I kind of say that, like, even with Star Wars, they can keep making Star Wars movies, and I don't think it'll bother me, even if they're not good, because you're just adding something to this, like, vast universe
Mm-hmm.
that needs to be explored. You know, because I just, you know, as someone who likes Star Wars, I've always kind of thought, like, Star Wars isn't really limited to just Luke Skywalker's Odyssey,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or the Skywalker family, you know.
Right.
And Star Trek to me is kind of the same way, where it's sort of like we're not really limited to this like one thing, you know. I mean, because like, and a great example is that they blow up Planet Vulcan in the first movie, you know,
Mm-hmm.
explodes, and like, and you know, so this is a new idea, a new thing that's being introduced. So it's like, you know, Star Trek now is kind of working with Star Wars is. It's sort of like, well, this whole, even though Star Trek has always explored this big universe and sort of put stuff in there because there's just to have something in there to add to the vastness. Like these new movies, it's almost the same. They're doing almost the same thing,
Right.
you know. So Star Wars kind of, it's like, yeah, the prequels weren't that great, but at least there's like something exploring this other part of the world that we're given, you know.
Right.
And you know, and that's why I sort of like remake, you know, sequel, prequel. These things have real fine lines to them, you know.
Yeah, especially the Star Trek and the Star
Yeah.
Trek world, because it's almost like remake, but in an alternate universe.
Right.
So it's not, it's not canon.
Yeah.
But going back to Star Wars, of course, when the second trilogy came out, the original fans were not happy because they weren't great. But the thing is, they're great to somebody. You know, I'm sure when we were, let's see, I was 3 when Jedi came out, 1983.
Mm-hmm.
So I was 3. So by the time that I could comprehend it, the Ewoks were great. Like I was 4 or 5. I loved it. So another 4 and 5-year-old would probably love Jar Jar Binks.
Right.
So I mean, they're made for a specific audience.
Yeah.
So of course they're not great to us, and they will never be great to us. But our trilogy is great to us.
That's why I think these movies are being made for us.
The next 7, 8, and 9 will be made
They're
for
made for
us. Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. J.J. Abrams is 46 years old.
Right.
He came from, he's quasi our era, so it's like
Right.
he's making what he wants to see,
Mhm.
and so
Well, same thing with Whedon. Whedon. He's in that same ballpark.
Yeah.
Like he's making a Marvel movie that he would probably want to see. So
or John Favreau with
yeah,
Iron Man,
exactly.
It's like just, but I have high hopes for Star Wars. I have high hopes for the next Star Trek,
Yep.
Um, it's things like Goonies 2 that I don't have high hopes for.
Right. Or since I just brought this up to you, you had no idea about Blade Runner 2.
What the fuck? We needed like a what the fuck button here,
Right. Just like a skirt. We needed like a record scratch
Yeah.
or something.
There's probably one on here. I'll just have to
But
find
I don't know a lot about it. I just know that it's talked about, and I think it's a greenlit, and Harrison Ford's all about it. And
Of course he is.
I mean, yeah.
He decided to play the one character he said he would never do again. So of course he's gonna do it again.
Yep.
Blade Runner. Where do you go from there?
I don't know.
I mean, do you find out everybody in the world's a replicant and all the humans are actually died off?
It's like making Matrix 4. I mean, why keep doing this?
Like I just don't get it. I mean, that movie was ahead of its time. Way ahead of its time.
Sure.
Way over its budget too, but
I mean that's Ridley Scott.
That was what it was, It's kind of one of those things, it's one of those movies that had to happen the way it did for it to be so great.
Mm-hmm.
but I hate all the recuts they keep releasing. Like my brother has like the DVD, like Blu-ray special DVD Blu-ray thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's got like all the cuts on it, like the director's cut, the second director's cut, the final mega cut. You know, the super secret cut. We found 2 extra inches of film in under Ridley Scott's couch, and we decided to put them back in there. You know, to me, that's what Blade Runner's been. It's like let's just milk the shit out of like any because I think Scott's not he's someone that stands by his original theatrical versions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I'm sort of thinking like, well, if this is the director's cut, that means he cut the movie. They said it was too long, and somebody was smart enough to keep the original real.
Right.
You know, like, I mean, what's funny is you watch the director's cut of Alien, it's actually shorter than the theatrical.
Yeah.
It's shorter.
How much shorter?
It's like 9 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, that's a long time in cinematic talk.
It's not by much, but but he said that when he rearranged some of the stuff and removed some of the longer pieces, it was 9 minutes shorter, and just only because he said there was nothing really to add.
Right.
He said he was very happy with the first cut of the movie. There's only just there's only like 3 scenes that were just taken out just for continuity aspects, like the one where she finds Dallas cocooned.
Mm-hmm.
It was taken out just to get her to the ship faster.
Okay.
It's stuff like that. Like there's just little things like that were just removed just because he thought like, well, she's running here, she stops, and then this happens, and it's like, well, we need to get her to point B faster. And
9 minutes is a lot of time.
It's a lot of time, yeah. It's shorter.
Especially taking out just like little pieces like that every now and then. That's a lot of time.
Yeah. But for the most part, he always thought the film was superior. The theatrical version was it,
Right.
So if he's the one that's going to be doing this movie, then, God only knows what's going to happen with it,
Right.
I mean,
who knows?
Sequel, prequel, I mean, I don't know.
It'll be a sequel.
Philip K. Dick has unless he's got some sequel hiding.
Like has some hidden secret time capsule.
He died right before the original came out. But he did get to see the rough cut of the movie.
Yeah.
And his wife at the time said that he did enjoy it.
Okay.
And it's the only time he saw any of his work on film. So, the guy was messed up anyway. But
right.
But I don't know. Would you go see it? I mean,
I don't know. Probably not.
Gotta admit you'd be at least a little bit.
In the later years, I've not been too much of a Harrison Ford fan. I don't know. I'll just go out and say it. I just don't. Early Harrison Ford, but it just seems like he's so cranky and like I don't know. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I probably won't see it.
Like Ender's Game.
I didn't see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. The Lips did the music for it.
The songs were good. That EP was really good.
Yeah.
But I didn't see the movie.
Yeah. It was cool.
That kid is he's in talks to be the new Spider-Man.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Joy.
All right. But it's not going to be an origin story, which is phenomenal. I think they're actually learning to stop doing origin stories, especially since they've already rebooted that movie twice in the last 15 years. But he's probably going to show up in the next Captain America movie.
Right.
So, what was I going to say?
Yeah.
Oh, on Reddit, there hasn't been any talk of Blade Runner 2 in a few months. So maybe, I don't know if it's, let's see if IMDb's got some information on it.
I'm actually looking up something right now.
So maybe it'll, maybe based on that information, maybe it was just a terrible rumor. So let's see what IMDb has. Nothing new, so that's good. Nope, I'm sorry. Untitled Blade Runner Project. Ryan Gosling, Harrison Ford. Not directed by Ridley Scott.
Not directed by Ridley Scott.
Yeah, I don't know who this guy is. Dennis Villeneuve? I don't know. Let's see if he's done anything. Oh, he did Prisoners. I heard that was really good. That was with Jake Gyllenhaal and Wolverine.
I didn't see that.
I heard it was really good, actually. I like Hugh Jackman. Let's see, and that's about it. So, I was looking on IMDb last night,
Right.
and as soon as I got to the homepage, there was a picture for this movie called Soaked in Bleach.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know anything about this?
No.
Okay, so, and I texted Daniel right after I watched the trailer, and he's apparently been waiting for this for a while, but apparently it's a documentary based on this detective that Courtney Love had contacted just days prior to Kurt killing himself. And it's the detective primarily talking throughout this documentary, and he has like tapes and tapes. He got on the phone with Courtney about something, and she kind of was contradicting herself and during the conversation. So he said, from that point on, I taped every conversation that I ever had with Courtney Love.
So this is fictional, or
this is a non-fictional documentary based on the days leading up to Kurt's suicide.
okay?
So it looks pretty interesting. It's called Soaked in Bleach. Look up the documentary.
Okay.
So I text Daniel and I go, "Hey, this looks intriguing." And he's like, "Yeah, I've been waiting for this for a long time. Apparently, it was supposed to come out some time ago, but it got pushed because of the release of Montage of Heck that just came out."
Okay.
So I don't know if they wanted to release them around the same time. But Daniel said he's been waiting for it for a long time to come out. So it's very intriguing. I'd like to see what's going on.
Soaked in bleach.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So.
Soaked in bleach. Okay, we finished finding this. Maybe I can find that.
What are you looking for?
Just something. I also ate too much. My like sides are killing me. I ate way too much earlier. That's what I do. I eat too much.
I do too.
Anyway, okay, so let's. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's do that. That doesn't really. Okay. All right. Let's take a small break.
Okay.
And when we come back, we will tackle some more remakes, and we will do a little more talk about some reunions. So we'll be right back. And we're back.
Yes, we're back.
We're back. That was a good little break there.
Mm-hmm.
I stretched my back, and Josh ate some cookies.
I did. The new s'more Oreos, which they totally miss an opportunity. S'moreos.
Yeah, s'moreos.
Whatever.
Yeah. So so they, whoever they is, just these people.
It's them.
I don't know, them people. Are they even people?
They.
Could you even say they? Could you even call them human?
Yeah. I mean, they're always talking about something.
But they've been talking a lot about when I say they talk a lot about reunions. But you and I talk a lot about reunions anyway. So
right.
But
we get a lot of information from they.
Yes, they keep us up to speed on reunions.
It's true.
And
band reunions.
Band reunions.
Not family reunions or
no.
television reunions.
Be a cold day in hell. My family has one of those.
That's right, David.
Yeah, they don't do those.
The Kerrs don't reunion.
No, just like see you when you see you kind of
Right.
thing. We're Irish.
It's like a River Phoenix type thing.
Yeah. But only we're not past that at the Viper Club.
I was making a Stand By Me reference.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, all right, well, So they talk a lot about band reunions. Some are good, some are awesome, some are kind of like, huh?
Some are like, we know this is only for the money.
And we've been to a few lately, it seems, and we're going to a few here.
You and I are going to go to 2 different bands on the same night.
2
reunited bands
on the same night.
On the same night.
Yes.
I wish it weren't that way.
No.
I want to see Veruca Salt
yeah.
very badly.
I cannot wait to see Veruca Salt. I am, and they're not really saying bad things about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is what it is. It's the original lineup.
Right.
If there ever was going to be another Veruca Salt, it'd have to be that.
Right.
You'd have to have Jim Shapiro and Steve Lack. I mean, like it would have to be that way. And of course, the 2 girls, of course Nina and Louise would have to be doing it too. But I knew this was coming 3 years ago.
Right.
Before, because in 2011, Louise posted a thing on Facebook. It says, "Look who I had lunch with today," and it was Nina Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, like,
that's interesting.
Well, this is cool.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, It took 2 more years for it to come to fruition, but like the ball was rolling right there.
Right.
Hatchets have been buried, and wounds have been healed, and and they probably need money because they have kids now. So,
right.
I mean, hey, I know what that's like. So, I'm excited. The new songs are cool though. I mean, they're going back to that whole, got the fuzzy guitars with the
pop grunge,
kind of like the 2-part harmony, girl harmony thing going on. It's like, I dig that, So more power to you.
Are
ladies.
they post grunge, just alternative? When was grunge? Would you say what would you categorize grunge? Just like
88 to 93, maybe.
Okay.
That was the primary era.
And then kind of like the power pop alternative started making its way in.
Because those girls were more into stuff like the Pretenders and and things like that. Like they drew influence from stuff like that, like the 80s pop. Only someone gave them a Marshall and a Big Muff, and it's just kind of
made it awesomer.
Yeah, it kind of goes from there. So I don't know. I wouldn't post them into that like category.
No.
And so, but it's just sort of like, but what they're doing is kind of the same thing. Only it's definitely more mature version of it. They're still doing kind of like the just the upbeat rock songs. But they're back to doing those like that dual harmony singing.
Yeah.
Thing where they're both singing at the same time. They're doing, it's kind of like they're back to doing that, which I always loved.
Yeah.
Between the 2 of them, So, and let's just face it, the songs they wrote were just awesome. So
yeah.
So this is one I'm really excited about.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're gonna go see Failure again. But you're gonna see. To me, you're seeing. Last year we saw the Play the Old Songs reunion tour.
Right.
But
this year, this is like the tour that you wanted in the late 90s, but we're going to do it in the early 2000s, early 2010s.
And I like that they made a new record.
Mm-hmm.
I love that they made a new record. They went on tour with the old material, get their heads together, probably just to decide if we can we do this again,
without the heroin.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of bands that do that like, okay, we're back together now.
Yeah.
So I guess that means we have to stay together, And
Well, it's kind of what Salt's doing too, right? I mean, they're like road touring their stuff before, because they don't have a new album out yet, but it is tentative, right?
yeah, actually, I think they released that EP with
And that was on Record Store Day.
yeah, had
so that
4
was pretty
songs.
recent, yeah.
And then they have
Did you get that?
No. Still can't get it.
I need to look for that.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still can't get it. I think they just released it digitally though. It just finally came out on iTunes.
Oh, okay.
So I'll probably just pick it up there. But I have heard the songs; they're good. So.
Yeah.
They have a new record in the can.
Okay.
It just hasn't come out yet.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the last little news updates was they don't have a label for it, and they're weighing the options of
just need a self-release.
yeah, and then they also said they're also weighing the options of whether or not they want to record more songs. So something tells me they're kind of like, well, we have a record. Well, we also got some other new songs. Well, do you want those to be on the record, or So it's like I think they're just if you look at their tour dates, they're never more than like 8 at a time. So
okay, pretty sporadic.
Yeah,
Well,
but all these are in the same region. So
yeah, and Failure's got a new record. Their record's going to come out at the end of June.
Nice.
So that'll be right before the show. It's coming out June 30th.
Nice.
So we'll get a little bit of time before. But that's what's going to be cool. We're still going to hear some old stuff, but some new stuff.
Right.
So that's what I'm kind of excited about.
That's what I really liked about when Dinosaur got back together. It was the original lineup.
Mm-hmm.
They did the tour where they played the old songs, and then they made a new album.
Yeah.
And they didn't just make a new album. They've made 3 new albums.
Yeah.
And amongst some of the other stuff that they've put out there, and to me, I just thought like, well, that's a true reunion right there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and apparently Lou Barlow had to be talked into the new album. Beyond, he had to be talked into it. But he said that like just after the first day of rehearsals, he was sort of like, okay, well, never mind. I really want to do this.
Yeah.
Just like Jay's still doing it. And like, and so he said that like, or just the fact that they were working differently.
Yeah.
He said that if there was like a conflict, or if there was something, they'd be playing a song and there would actually be a conversation about it rather than everyone just ignoring each other.
Right.
And so that to me is a true, in the in the sense it's like it's a reunion. So
right.
now when you go see Dinosaur, they give you some old songs and they play new songs. And
they played them loud as fuck.
Yeah, they're still. Nothing's changed about that.
Nothing's changed about the volume.
If anything, it's gotten louder.
Right.
But to me, that's been my favorite of them all. Of all of them. That's been my favorite one because that's also one I never thought would happen. I mean, I never thought that would happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then, how actually I found out before the news broke. I was with Casio and we were at the basement. And we saw Lou was doing solo tour at the time, and we were out back talking to him, and he said, "Oh, by the way, yeah, like I'm going to tour Dinosaur this summer," and we're like, "Are you gonna open for Dinosaur this summer?" He's like, "No, like, I'm playing bass. I'm going on tour. Like I'm back in the band," and we're like, "Oh, God, am I gonna look bad if I just like scream and jump for joy, right now?" But and then come to find out, like just like the following week, the news about it came out.
Yeah, the announcement came out.
Yeah, so it was like, oh shit, he wasn't fucking with us. He was right. So, but yeah, that's been my favorite of all the of all the reunions. It's been my favorite.
All the bands that have come back.
Yeah, I mean, do you have like a least favorite, like of one that's like kind of like what the fuck?
I mean, the only one that's really just on the top of my mind is Pumpkins.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not even a reunion as such. I mean, it's basically just now it's just like Corgan and Hired Guns, and
Corgan and Friends.
Corgan and Co. Yeah, like there's no it's no pumpkins anymore.
It's like the Lemonheads. It's just Evan Dando. Well, actually, it's always been that way, but
right. But and then we kind of mentioned this before when I saw the Pixies, at the beginning of the month. The first band that I saw that day was Spin Doctors.
Right.
And they kept saying they were very adamant about reiterating that they were the original Spin Doctors. All four of them were the same Spin Doctors you would have seen in the mid '90s, which I took, and I laugh every time, but I took as kind of a jab to the Pixies because Kim's not in the band anymore.
That's her decision.
But and I think I saw a great show with
right.
Paz anyway. But and I was talking to Daniel about that, and I was like, well, I don't know if it's a jab at the Pixies or the Lips, but thinking back, the Lips have always had a revolving door of players, ever since the very, very beginning, because Wayne's brother was in the band, singing at the very beginning.
Right.
So they've never had, except for Wayne and Michael, they've never had, Steven, of course, has probably been the longest member since Michael and Wayne, but that's it. There's always been a rotation of musicians in that band. But I think the first time I saw the Pumpkins, I want to say Jimmy was still in the band. I know James and Darcy weren't. So, but the last time that I saw them, it was just Corgan was the only member. It was just they had the kid playing drums, but I don't even think the kid's playing drums with them anymore. So
no, he's not.
Which is weird because he was pretty fucking good.
Yeah,
I
think he's in college now.
Good for him. I mean, he's going down a better path than.
Yeah, Corgan had said something
Corgan's
about that he's going to. I forget what university he's going to, and he said that they stay in touch through texting and email.
Yeah,
and so, but to me, the tip off was when he wasn't playing on the new recordings.
Yeah,
But they got almost 3 years out of that kid.
Yeah, he was 19 when he joined the band.
Yeah,
and he was good. Other reunions.
Well, I'll say this about the Pixies. I'll say this about them. When they announced they were getting back together, I bought tickets for 2 shows. So I didn't think I was ever going to get to see it again.
Mm-hmm.
I was really excited about it. But I saw them 3 times within a year and a half. I went to 3 shows. And it was the same thing. Not that was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Just playing the old songs from the 5 albums. But I thought surely by this time there would be some new material. And then we fast forward 10 years later. It's 2014, and they're just now putting out new material without Kim.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of like, okay, well, in all honesty, guys, you missed your boat on this.
Yeah.
You can't just play the hits for 10 years, Because then I started to really say, is this truly a reunion, or is this... Because they flat out said, we're doing this for the money.
Right.
And which I find to be awesome when people say that. Like when the Sex Pistols it was called the We've Come For Your Money tour, and Johnny Rotten was like, we've been paid in advance, which was true.
Yeah.
All that was just downright true. They were paid up front to do it. But the Pixies was legendary band, get back together, waits 10 years to make new album when you probably should have done it 8 years ago, It's
right.
I don't know. There's just something about that. But I'm still happy they got back together because we're still really, really, really happy about that,
They still put on a fucking hell of a show.
Yeah, if you're gonna, shit. If you're gonna replace Kim with anybody, it has to be her. It has to be Paz. It just I didn't get to go to the Breeders' show 2 years ago. I had to sell my ticket. They did the Last Splash album.
Yeah.
And they did a bunch of new songs before it. I heard it was good. I heard it was really good. But I don't think there's been a new record.
I haven't heard anything from
them. Supposedly there's making an album, but haven't heard anything. But that band technically never broke up either, so
yeah.
Technically never broke up,
Another reunion I saw a couple years ago was Soundgarden. That was really good.
Yeah, I like how that one's been kind of just play whenever we feel like it kind of thing, you know.
Well, they can all do their own thing, you know. Of course, Cameron is Pearl Jam's drummer,
Yeah.
so he doesn't, you know, he's not hurting.
Did they play Blow Up the Outside World?
I think so.
Did they play that one?
Yeah,
I like that song.
I'm pretty sure. I can look it up.
That song is cool.
That is really cool. Down the Upside was a great fucking record.
It was.
Like the whole record was awesome.
I don't know. And some people kind of like for years would be like, "Oh no, man, you know, Ultra Omega, you know what? That's a better record." You know, I'm just sort of like, yeah, but like, Down the Upside is just good. You know, I mean, it's like it's just like all the other ones. Only it's just, I don't know. It's like to me, it was Soundgarden fully realized.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a couple of songs on there like Pretty Noose, you know, is a total radio song, but but to me, Soundgarden is the kind of guys I think know how to write a song like that.
Right.
So you can look at it as like it doesn't define the album. It's just there.
Right.
It's just in there, you know. But Blow Up the Outside World is I think it's like my favorite song on that album. It's like a favorite Soundgarden song, you know.
Oh yeah. No, it's good. And the record they released was really good too.
But you got to admit, it took balls for them to break up.
Yeah,
Like
especially when they broke up.
At the height of their popularity, you know. I mean, they finished that tour. They did that Lollapalooza thing.
Yeah, both times I saw them, they played Blow Up the Outside World.
Oh, nice. Soundgarden. You know, and some of the other stuff like The Police.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
See, I guess I didn't think about that because I just repressed it.
They totally cell phoned that in.
Just blocked that out of my mind. Yeah.
I remember people telling me how so disappointed they were in that.
I was one of those people.
And they all said the same thing. They were like, "Yeah, it'd be good if they were into it."
Mm-hmm. Well,
you know,
the only person that was into it was Copeland.
Yeah.
Like, and that's probably because he's playing the drums, but you could see like him having a good time. Sting, like he was just like I could give a shit.
Well, I mean, him and what's his name? It's obvious they're not on good terms still.
Right.
My 7th grade Tennessee history teacher told me this awesome story. He saw the Police's last concert ever. And this was something he kind of bragged about too.
Mm-hmm.
And he said at the time the Police were the biggest band in the world. They had like the #1 album, the #1 single in like X amount of countries. It was the last night of like the most successful tour, you know, shows sold out. And he said the concert was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Then you come to find out what happened before the concert.
Uh-oh.
He said a couple of years later, he found out, I think Stuart Copeland had actually said that the tour for them and the fact that the album was a hit and they had the #1 single and all this, for them was a nightmare.
Really?
Because they were pretty much on the verge of breaking up. And then I think it was Ghost of the Machine was at the last one. It was whatever that album was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because the one before that was a big hit, you know, and before that was a big hit. But like, you know, this one was like an even bigger. It dwarfed all the other ones, and to them that was disappointing because they were trying to walk away, and they couldn't. And so apparently the tour was such a disaster that they were arguing before and after every show. They weren't speaking to one another. And then like the road manager said what happened was they went into a room and they screamed at each other for like 20 minutes. It got really quiet. And they walked out and said, "Okay, it's showtime." And they played the concert and everyone went their separate ways. And you come to find out when it got quiet, in that like 3 minutes that it was quiet before they walked out of the dressing room, they had decided it was over, that this was the last show.
Wow.
And I've heard from so many people who saw the Police on that tour, not just the Bonnaroo show, but just that tour, and they just said the same thing. It was like, it was obvious those wounds have not healed yet.
Right.
It's so obvious that like they cannot handle this, and yet they're trying so hard. And that's the thing. It's like, it's not so much that it sucked. It's just sort of like they're trying. That band was trying too hard to be the Police.
Right.
I mean, Jacob will tell you the same thing. You know, like, and this was during my couple of years where I thought I was like, I should start like doing the psychic hotline or something, because I had this list of bands, like Hell Freezes Over bands, and within 2 years, all 4 of them got back together in some form or another, because I considered them to be some of the most dysfunctional bands.
Right.
You know, Dinosaur was one of them. The Pixies were the other. The Police, and Big Black was the wild card, because they're the only band in history to announce their breakup a year in advance, and then turn down, you know, thousands of dollars to get back together, only to get back together for free and play 4 songs.
Wow.
Steve, if you watch the video, Steve Albini goes, "Yeah, obviously we've had no burning desire to do this, but they only did it for the Touch and Go anniversary."
Yeah.
You know, because it was, that band didn't break up for any reason. It just broke up because they just didn't want to do it anymore. You know, but the Police is just sort of like, no, I think they broke up for real deep-seated personal reasons.
Right.
You know, like, so why would you even, you know, it was obvious the Pixies managed to make it through.
Yeah.
Without, you know, too much problems, you know.
Right.
Obviously Dinosaur is still kicking after 10 years of reuniting, you know. But man, the Police couldn't even make it through a tour.
No.
I mean, do you think they would have made more music if they had, you know? Do you think they would have made another album?
I doubt it.
Yeah.
I really do. I just don't think Sting would do it.
No.
I don't think he'd
He's too
make
busy
any
doing
more music.
Disney movies.
And they're probably paying him very well.
Yeah.
Him and Elton John both.
I mean, there's just this, you know, it was obvious Failure was up there, and they were into it and everything.
Failure was, if I had a list, they would have been on that list.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, just, and I got into the Failure game late. I didn't get into them until like 2000. So it was
long after.
Long after, you know, the band, and only did I find out, you know, in those next couple of years, their history and, you know, the history with some of the other bands that I loved, you know, like The Lips and Tool and things like that. I never knew, you know, anything about them. But a guy I worked with was like, you got to listen to Failure. And I was like, okay. And then
I love how they're so open now about their kind of their, you know, their sort of their messed up past, you know. Because I think it was like Ken Andrews said that it was what Greg Edwards that was the one that was the worse off.
Right.
And they said, well, we can't kick him out of the band for being a drug addict because we're just as guilty. So we'll just break up.
Right. Probably the best thing for all.
Best thing for everyone, all parties, you know. And I love it how, like, you know, for years, like, they didn't really talk about it, especially Ken Andrews just sort of like, well, you know, I don't really talk about my... You know, just listen to the songs and you'll kind of...
Yeah, exactly. Just, like, listen to Fantastic Planet.
But now he's just being real, you know, just real open about it. Like, yeah, I mean, we're good now.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like...
Well, it was 20 years
we
ago.
took care of that problem, and, you know, now we're capable of, you know, of doing this, and...
Yeah, that was definitely one of my bands that I never thought I'd see ever, you know.
I just never, not so much that, you just never thought, like, you know, you know why they broke up, and you know these deep-seated issues.
Like, you know the circumstances,
Could these 3 people ever get over that, you
right.
know? It's the same thing with the whole jellyfish thing. It's like, that's one that's obviously never going to happen.
Never going to happen.
You know.
Will
never happen.
Yeah, we will never see Jellyfish live.
And it's just, it's one of those things where even if the four of them, or actually pick or choose whatever lineup you want, but like, they get over these things, these personal things, but is it really worth it putting it on display?
Mm-hmm.
No, not really.
No, because I mean, seeing a tour like that would be, although we love it, it's like it's kind of like with us and Self. It's like we want Self so bad, but we don't really take into account what it costs them to do that.
Right.
Same thing with Jellyfish. I mean, if I would love, I would do dirty things to see Jellyfish live, but at what cost to Sturmer and to Manning and everybody involved? What would it cost them to come back and do that?
The only thing I think I'd really like to see if there was a somewhat of a reunion was just to maybe see the two of them like do a new song.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's simple.
Right.
I mean, hell, the Beatles did that.
Or even do just like, like that in-store, on YouTube.
Yeah.
Just do like some acoustic stuff. We don't have to see Sturmer. I mean, I'd love to see Sturmer playing drums, but his voice is just as good as his drum work,
I do think there's this. They also come from a world. So you gotta think. Another thing that I wanted to bring up in this is that, like, do you think the reunion is something that has to happen now? Like, it's typical. Like, you do your thing, you make your mark, you break up, and then you come back. The reunion's the prestige. It's sort of like
it's become that
you're not really legendary unless you come back.
Right. I mean, it's become that.
And there's only a handful of bands that can pull off the legendary thing without returning.
Mm-hmm.
Jellyfish being one of them.
Right.
I mean,
but I mean that's only to a small group of people. Still, right. Even though they have garnered a fan base, I'd say in the last few years, it's still a small. Fan
they're bigger
base.
than they ever were.
Right. But I don't know. I think that is kind of the normal now of the reunion is the top.
I always like it how when Roger Klein and the Peacemakers, they do their annual show out in Mexico.
I mean, they are essentially the Refreshments.
They
right?
are, but they play as the Refreshments when they do this.
Okay.
They do an entire set where they play as the Refreshments, and the old guitar player joins them. And last year the bass player did, but the year before he couldn't. He lives in Nashville now. The old Refreshments bass player lives in Nashville. He has a studio here. But the band gets up there and does a set.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's not exactly a reunion because technically one band just became the other.
Mm-hmm.
But for one night, they draw the line in the sand and say, "Here, this is the Refreshments."
Yeah, you get this for a night.
Yeah, you get this, and then they get up and they do, the Peacemaker stuff. So I like it when that kind of stuff happens. Like the same with Big Black, you get it for one night. And you only get 4 songs, which is so Albini. It's just so something he would do, But they didn't. It was Big Black. It was the original lineup because Dave Riley is like. Actually, Dave Riley's a funny story. He didn't die of a heart attack. He had a stroke at the age of 30. And people thought he died of a heroin overdose or something like that. And it's like, no, this actually runs in my family. So he had to go to a rehab clinic to learn how to eat, walk, talk, and everything. And all the while, he was keeping a blog of this.
Oh, wow.
Or online journal, by the way, because this was in the mid-90s.
Okay, so before blog.
Yeah, it was like in the mid-90s. He kept an online journal. And I read through a lot of it, and it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, because he was kind of he was always making, if you get some of these bootlegs, he was always cracking up, making jokes, and so he was kind of the funny dude. But like, you read the stuff, and like, this is some serious shit that happened to him. He had a stroke at the age of 30. I mean, like, that sucks.
Right.
But he thinks it's funny, and I mean, the whole thing is he's making fun of the nurses at the hospital. He's making fun of his roommate. He's just like he's making fun of himself.
Yeah.
You know, like, and yeah, so that's why he wasn't there. You know, people always wondered what happened to him, and you know, so Jeff Pizzotti was in Big Black, and he's also in Naked Ray Gun, and he's on the Lost Highway or
Sonic
Highways.
Yeah.
You know, so they get up there, they drum machine, you know, Santiago Durango. You know, they get up there, drum machine, 4 songs, boom, done.
Yeah.
It's like I would have driven to Chicago just for that.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't. I had other things I had to do, but like, you know, it was announced 2 weeks before it that Big Black would be playing.
Right.
You know, and I would have driven just to see Big Black play 4 songs.
Mm-hmm.
Because Big Black broke up in 1987. You know.
Yeah.
Never to, you know, I saw Shellac, you know, I saw Albany's other band, but like, you know, never to ever reunite. You know, and not because they said they wouldn't, because they did, but based on the principles of why of them breaking up, they announced it in advance.
Yeah.
It gave everyone plenty of time.
Mm-hmm.
This is it.
We'll let you know now.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, and so I mean, and so that's why I think that like there's like this thing where like the reunion is like the prestige. You know.
Yeah.
It's does it have to happen? I don't know. You know.
I don't think so, but I mean, you know, people want it. We live in a time now to where the fans can get to the artists so fast. Like, the information can get so fast. Like, if we want something, we can petition it so easily now to get it done, you know?
Right.
So, I mean, it's a whole different ball game now. That's like the whole thing with Veruca Salt trying to find a record label. It's like, why? I mean, you can put it out yourself, you know? Everybody can self-release their own music now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you know, reunions probably happen because, I mean, fans want it to happen, you know.
My Bloody Valentine is another one.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why that's one of my favorite current reunions is because the only band I know that can go 22 years without making a new album, drop it on everyone in the middle of the night before they even wake up, crash the internet as a result of it, and their tour only be 12 cities.
Wow. And they can do that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and see, I knew that was coming because they were doing some shows at the time, and I remember going to bed that night and just kind of putting my head back and just, grab my tablet, and I kind of like, and I was like, huh, I wonder if this is real. New My Bloody Valentine album. So we knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Because in December prior to that, in 2012, this is February of 2013, in December, I said, Kevin Shields, you have 12 days. Because he said it would be out before the end of the year. Well, it took 2 more months, but the reason why it took 2 more months is because I actually bought it right there. I bought it. And I was like, well, I'll hit the download bar tomorrow morning when I get up. Because they sent the link to my email.
Yeah.
I'll just download it tomorrow morning. Well, I couldn't even get on the website the next morning.
Oh, wow.
I got up and I was sitting right here,
Mm-hmm.
the computer out. I couldn't even get on the website. I was like, oh, that sucks. Oh, well. And I couldn't get it for 3 more days, actually, because so many people went to the website. They didn't just crash the website. They fucking broke it.
Right. Just broke their servers.
And the interview that I read with him, he said the whole point of them just putting it out on a random day was for that reason. No announcement, no nothing. He said that what people noticed is that when the songs, they took the songs in high quality form and put them on YouTube. He said when people saw the files go up on YouTube, because you can on YouTube you can sign up for alerts.
Yeah.
Like you can just type in alert anything with My Bloody Valentine in a tag. You can,
You're right.
So I'm sure that all these people saw this,
Mm-hmm.
And he said this is with no press whatsoever.
Yep.
You know.
So it's easy.
And that's just one of my favorite things about that whole reunion was that, like, it's so effortless.
Right.
So effortless. Oh, yeah, here's a new record. First one in 22 years. I'm going to put it out while you sleep.
Right.
and pray that you'll be able to hear it the next morning. Not too many bands, would attempt something like that. Plus, not too many bands when they get back together just make a new record. Not too many people. That's why I'm glad Failure's doing it.
Yeah. It's been long enough. I mean, well, that's like I was just thinking, that with Tool, I love Tool, but I guess it makes it even better because of the length of time between records.
It's almost as if they pretend.
Right. I know they're all doing something different.
It just feels as if they leave and come and leave and come.
Mm-hmm.
See, to me, a breakup is like a breakup.
Yeah.
Like Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick said that in '97 when they were on tour, people had come up to them and they were like, "I'm so glad you guys got back together." And he's like, "Well, we didn't really go anywhere." Like,
right.
Cheap Trick's a band that's never gonna break up.
Right.
Like, never. It's not gonna happen. You know? I mean,
they'll break up when they're all dead.
And that's how and I thought Sonic Youth was gonna be that band. They'll break up when somebody dies.
Yeah.
And we can add that to the list of ain't gonna happen. At least not anytime soon.
I would say ain't gonna happen ever.
Yeah.
I want to put White Stripes on that list too.
Yeah.
They're never gonna. We will never see Jack and Meg on stage together again.
No. I mean, that's just they rode that camel for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and to have a reunion like that, I mean, like a full-fledged reunion. I wouldn't necessarily take an act of God, but in a very Jack White way, I don't think it would mount a whole tour behind it.
No, it'd be just a few shows,
if that.
They'd probably play a show in Detroit. That's probably about it.
Yeah,
they'd probably just do like one show.
I mean, and so you have like this is bands that like like I said, Tool. That's a band that'll never break up. Like
right.
Cheap Trick's a band that'll never break up, and the list goes on, it really does, but the fact remains is I've always felt these days you have to have the reunion for it to be, or you have fractured reunions like Black Flag.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel sorry for anybody who's doing that, because there's two different Black Flags, just like for years there was two different Beach Boys.
And Floyd.
The big Floyd fiasco, which actually, let's touch on that, because this is how I feel about that. And I come to find out a few things after I read Nick Mason's book.
Oh, I need to read that.
Yeah. Come to find out a few things about all that. You see, Roger Waters quit.
Okay.
All right, so Roger Waters quit Pink Floyd. But
is this like post Division Bell?
Right after the final cut.
Oh, okay.
Roger Waters quit. But Pink Floyd still had contractual recording obligations.
Okay.
David Gilmour said, well, if you're not going to fulfill these, I am.
Okay.
Because Gilmour apparently made like a solo album and went on tour with it, and it just wasn't, it just wasn't the same. So he said, from a legal standpoint, I'm going to fulfill this because this is how we get paid.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where Momentary Lapse of Reason came about.
So did Gilmour play bass on that record?
Gilmour played almost everything.
Like all the string instruments?
Nick Mason played the drums, and Richard Wright came back and played keys and stuff. Okay, so they did that big tour, like in 88, 89. What people don't realize is that Roger Waters still attached to Pink Floyd at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he quit the band. But Roger Waters got paid a lot of money.
Really?
Yeah. Roger Waters was also one of the many people who oversaw the recording process of Momentary Lapse of Reasons and Division Bell. Just was not a major part of it because he claimed to have not been in the band. And then turned around and tried to sue because they were using the name Pink Floyd.
Right.
You can't sue your own band member.
No.
So Gilmour had to like legally get Roger Waters removed from Pink Floyd.
Huh.
And then in the process of all this going on, this is why you never saw anything from Division Bell after.
Mm-hmm.
And so all while this is going on, Bob Geldof decides to do another Live Aid.
Okay.
Goes over to David Gilmour's house and says, "Hey, I'm doing Live Aid. Would you be interested in doing Floyd? The real Pink Floyd, just the four of you." Gilmour's like, "Well, I don't know." And he says, "Well, Roger's already agreed to do it." And he said, "Okay, all right. If Roger's going to do it. If Roger's on board, then I am too." And he's like, "Okay." So he said he immediately got in his car, hopped a train, and went to Roger Waters' house, the whole time thinking, God, I hope I can convince Roger to do this.
Wow.
But has the ace in his hole is that Gilmour just said he would do it.
Right.
So this is 20 years of shit, okay?
Right.
It's just like
right.
20 years of two dudes arguing,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, was that really a reunion? I don't know, But that moment at Live 8, that was the reunion.
Yeah.
That was it. And all four of them, and plus you got to remember, Richard Wright was not doing too good around that time.
No.
And Sid Barrett died that year. So to me, everything I think was in line. But to me, that was the true reunion.
Reunion, yeah.
That was it. The four of them got up there at Live 8 and did it. And then it was decided that neither of them would use the name Pink Floyd anymore. So when Gilmour went out with his solo album, something was like 2007, 2008, 2009, I forget what year it was the same Division Bell band.
Really?
Everybody. Only they were just David Gilmour.
Just David Gilmour,
and most of the set was Pink Floyd songs.
Right.
Actually, that solo album was actually pretty good.
He just released a new one.
Oh, okay.
Like last year or something.
And then, of course...
Actually... Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Of course, Roger went out and did all the Wall shows and the Dark Side shows. And then this girl I had a class with, she drove to Washington, D.C. to see the first Roger Waters
Wall.
Is the Wall and Dark Side. And she said the encore was like a 30-minute version of Set the Controls to the Heart of the Sun.
That's so awesome.
She said the show was like 4 hours long. It took forever.
That is the shit.
Yeah. But like, that's such a touchy and weird thing. Pink Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a reunion? I don't know. Like, was it? Because the way I look at it, if you look at it real linear, Pink Floyd never went away until the end of '94. When the Division Bell tour ended, like to me that was the definitive. Okay, Pink Floyd has gone away. But then again, does Pink Floyd really ever go away? I don't know.
No, because last July, it was near the end of in November of last year, there was a new Pink Floyd record released.
Yeah, it was all instrumental.
Yeah, The Endless River.
Yeah, it's the leftovers from it's the only stuff that Roger Waters ever played on.
Mm-hmm.
It actually features all four members of Floyd. That's a little known fact that he was around because he was he had controlling interest in Pink Floyd.
Right.
But he was just choosing to be a dick. They're like, well, I quit. We're not recording anymore. We're not doing this anymore, And it's like, well, okay, until you legally quit the band, then, you're just being lazy,
Right.
Old punk ass bitch. Roger Waters is a punk ass bitch.
Yeah. He wrote some really good songs, though.
He did, yeah, he did. But he's a little punk ass.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, we could go. You can talk about Fleetwood Mac.
Oh yeah, there's so many bands.
The Eagles. Remember the Eagles got back together in like the early '90s. But I find it fascinating that it's always like the train wreck bands you want to see get back together.
Yeah.
It's always the ones that came and burn out quick.
Yep.
You know, did the Offspring ever break up? Like, did they technically ever break up?
I don't know. They just like released some new music.
And they kind of just one of those kind of just around.
Right.
They're always around.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, No Doubt was one that my sister saw one of the first shows on that reunion tour, and she said it was really good.
Yeah.
And then when that record came out, the new album came out, it was shit.
Yeah.
It was total shit. I mean,
sure it was.
I mean, I didn't like it at all.
No. They peaked with Tragic Kingdom.
I mean, but it was one of those things where like I thought enough time had passed, and when Audrey said, "Yeah, like, she said, oh yeah, they were awesome. Like, it was great. It was just like it was," and then they make this record, and you're like, ugh,
right?
Ugh, what the fuck?
Well, it's because Gwen's all she's done in the past like 10 years, 15 years is her own like hip hop crap music.
Yeah,
but
her own brand of pop.
Yeah,
which is just
which is a shame because she had an awesome band behind her the whole, that whole time.
Guitar player is badass.
Yeah,
I mean, hell,
Adrian was a great drummer.
Yeah,
Tony Kanal.
Oh yeah,
he's a badass bass player.
You know, one of the best things I ever saw on television, the year Joe Strummer died at the Grammys. He had Trey Cool on drums, Tony Kanal on bass, Dave Grohl, Elvis Costello, and Bruce Springsteen singing London Calling.
That seems very familiar. I think I remember that. What year was that?
2004.
Okay.
It was so cool.
Yeah.
It was like goosebumps cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, it was just one of those things like, are you ever going to get all of these guys on stage together? Probably not.
No.
Probably takes someone dying to make this happen,
And it did.
Yeah. Super band. Green Day is another one. They're never going to go away.
No, they'll never go away.
I think they broke up.
I don't know.
But, like, they didn't. You know what I mean? They said they broke up, but they actually, kind of like what The Cure did.
Yeah.
The Cure said they broke up in 2000, and then, why are you guys still touring? Like, I mean, it was kind of one of those, like, those, you probably want to, but you can't.
It's,
like,
it's like Nine Inch Nails. Like, 7 years ago, Reznor's like, done. I'm done with Nails. I'm going to work on other stuff. And then 5 years later, it's like, all right, we got some new Nails. We're going to tour again. I knew it. Yeah, knew it was going to happen.
When a band like that is driven by one guy, though.
Yeah.
It's really easy for that to kind of, happen. Just same thing with the whole Marilyn Manson thing. It's like,
right.
They've technically never broken up, but he recycles musicians. People come in and out of that band all the time. You know? And and I say the same for Ev Montreal. I always think that like Ev Montreal's never going to break up until Kevin Barnes is dead because people kind of come in and out. Not before, but lately. And
Polyphonic Spree.
Yeah,
it's like that band will always exist as long as Tim DeLauder's alive.
Yeah, just Weezer is another one. I mean, then again,
they've actually been pretty steady.
Yeah,
since Mikey died. Of course, he didn't die in the band though, but Scott was in the band when Mikey. I think he killed himself. But Scott's been in the band, I guess, probably the longest now. I mean, he's probably been in the band longer than Matt was in the band.
Faith No More.
They're on tour.
Yeah, that's been a slow burn though.
Yeah,
those first few shows were 2 years ago, and that's been a slow burn.
Yeah.
And I kind of dig that. Apparently they have a new record, or they're gonna do a new record, or whatever. But like, I like that they just did a handful of shows, and then you didn't hear about it again. They just did like a handful of shows, and you didn't hear about it again. And now it seems it's like they're doing more shows, which I think is cool. But that's one I just never thought. I mean, everyone likes Faith No More, you know. But that's just one I never thought like, oh shit, I gotta go see it, you know.
Right.
Okay. Faith No More's back together. Yeah. Woohoo.
But that's what drives that. Oh shit, I gotta go see it. That reunion aspect, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how ape shit did we go last year when we heard Failure was touring, you know.
We probably sold a kidney to go buy tickets.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or
it's,
would have, you know.
no, yeah, would have, and
Because we spent. I mean, that's what I love about the Accident. You spend $20 and
Yeah.
you get a stadium rock show
yeah,
in a a small ass building.
which is yeah. I mean, which is why I can't go to arena shows anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I saw the best arena show ever, 2 weeks ago, and so 3 weeks ago, and I feel like I saw the best one ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had been a long time since I've been to an arena show. I usually don't do those. Perfect Circle tried to get back together.
Yeah.
All they did was just like a small tour, and that was it.
I did. My buddy saw him at Tabernacle, and he paid. And this was, I don't know, like what? What was that? 08? 09?
No, that was almost 3 years ago.
Okay. Maybe I'm thinking before that then. But he paid like a scalper like $70 for a ticket, or $75, and I was like,
It's not bad.
I can't do it.
It's not bad though.
Because when I saw him, I paid like $30.
Yeah.
So.
But for the Tabernacle though, that's not bad in my opinion.
I don't know. I've paid for Tabernacle shows so cheap.
I've only been there once.
Really?
Yeah.
It's such a good venue.
Yeah. Usually, if I was in Atlanta at something, I was usually at the Variety Playhouse.
Yeah.
Like
I don't
every
think I've
time
ever been there.
every time I saw Sonic Youth was either at
Did you ever go to the Cotton Club?
No, I never saw the Cotton Club.
Okay. It's like in the basement of the Tabernacle.
Yeah, it used to be down the street,
Yeah.
and it used to be down the street. And I heard a funny story about when Sebadoh played there the week that it moved, and no one told them.
They went to the.
They went to the old club and they thought it shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
No, just down the street.
yeah, like I said, like somebody told me a funny story about that, But like, I mean, like the Stone Roses is another one. Like they got back together and they played like 2 shows in the United States. Everything else was like they called it a world tour, and I'm like, you call that a fucking world tour just because you went to Ibiza or something like that, you know?
Right.
Like, but that was one. If you watch the documentary, it was obvious there was still
Tension.
yeah, there was still shit.
Yeah.
Because like they said, like, oh, a few warm-up shows, and the 2 big shows they planned turned into a whole European tour, and like that pissed the drummer off. Like, like there's like one part he's like, you said 6 shows, so why are we playing 20? Like
Right.
it was just like it morphed into something bigger than they ever thought it would be. But anyway, it is getting late.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel like we're done with this yet.
No, we should definitely put this on pause.
I think we gotta pause this one because I think I don't think we're done yet. So this is not the end.
No.
We're gonna pick up maybe tomorrow,
Okay.
maybe Thursday,
Sure.
whichever one works better,
Yeah.
and we're gonna add to this cloud of awesomeness.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely have more to add.
So,
All right.
all right,
Well,
we'll see you then.
see you then.
Alrighty, we're back.
Back.
We're back from our 2-day break.
2 days.
We were really tired when we finished up.
So we're reunited 2 days later.
We got some
Speaking
sleep.
of reunions.
Yeah. Reunions.
So I thought of one today, actually. No, yesterday. And they've been back together for a few years, but Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw them.
That's a legitimate one.
Mm-hmm. I've seen them a couple times, and they still sound great. I never saw them, with Lane, but
Me
they
either.
they sound really great now.
I think it's because and I know that at first I knew some people who were down on that one. Saying, "Oh, that's not the same," but I say it's legitimate because the singer, it's not so much he sounds like Lane Staley because he doesn't really, he has that twinge, but he's the guy that sang on all of Cantrell's solo records,
Yeah.
and did all his tours. So it's just like that's the obvious choice,
Yeah. And when you see Chains, you realize how much Cantrell sings anyway.
Yeah.
Like he was kind of also the lead singer.
The dual vocal thing that they had going on.
Yeah.
I always loved that. Like, because it wasn't very metal actually,
Right.
for what they were. Because they were kind of a metal band,
Yeah.
Not so much the grunge thing, but they were more like what Mother Love Bone kind of was, less cock rocky.
Right.
But that dual thing that they, not so much harmony, but like just the dual vocal kind of, always fucking cool. Like, that was just kind of one of the priceless parts of the band,
And it still works well now.
Yeah.
Like they still sound great today.
That's why I say if you find someone that cannot just do what the other guy could do, but bring another flavor.
Yeah.
And it's someone close to the band anyway. Which brings me to another reunion that I fully support, and that's the Replacements.
Yeah.
Because it's hardly a reunion in some small way, because they haven't really gone all out with it.
Yeah.
It's just been like a few shows here, a few shows there, not making a big deal about it. Because even though it is only 2 original members, we can't really dig the guitar player up.
Yeah.
We can't really dig him up. He died, and then the drummer retired. He's like a sculptor now.
Okay.
And so I know Josh Freese has been playing drums.
Yeah.
For him, and then the guy that is playing guitar is the dude that replaced the original guitar player.
Okay. So he's close to the band.
Yeah. And then the whole other reason why they're doing this is because the guy who was also one of the other guys who was in the band during like the last 2 records, he has cancer, so they went out and raised money for him.
Oh, nice.
So it's it's like you can't dig up Bob Stinson and have him play. So to me, that's as close to a reunion as you're gonna get.
Yeah.
And but it's Paul Westerberg.
Yeah.
I mean, so I fully support that one. Have you heard that EP that they did?
No.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's like 5 songs. Yeah.
Okay.
It's neato.
Yeah.
It's worth a listen.
I'm sure it is. It's Westerberg.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely matured over the years. I mean, let's just say that. But it was actually kind of cool watching them on Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, they were on Jimmy Fallon. It was pretty cool. I mean, especially considering that those guys kind of got banned from late night television. Speaking of that, speaking of Saturday Night Live, you cannot find that SNL appearance anywhere.
I've seen it, like recently.
It's not on YouTube.
Where did I see it?
Somebody took it down.
I watched it recently.
They probably had it on the 40th anniversary. They probably showed a part of it.
No.
Because it was one of the major...
Because they didn't even show Costello on that.
Oh, they didn't? Oh, okay.
Or Rage, of course.
Yeah, they didn't... or
you can
Sinead
find the
O'Connor.
Rage. No. You can find the Rage performance, though. I've seen that.
What did they do on theirs?
They had an American flag turned upside down on Morello's amp.
That's right.
Yeah. So they were not asked back.
So I fully support the Replacements reunion.
Where the hell did I see that? I just watched it.
I saw it years ago.
It must have been like from a website.
Now, you can find it, but it's not on YouTube for that reason.
Yeah.
Like, SNL is not really proud of it. And there's like some of those other things. Like you can find the Costello thing.
Yeah.
But apparently there's a bunch of other stuff on from SNL performances that they've tried to keep off the internet,
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of one of those weird things. Yeah, so what else you got on in your head there? What else you think
I don't know. I just came up with Chains.
Do you remember when Jane's Addiction got back together and they called it a relapse?
I don't remember them calling it a relapse, but I remember when they got back together.
It was called the Jane's Addiction Relapse, and it was like '97. And remember, they broadcasted the concert on Halloween night on MTV.
No, I don't remember that.
Flea played bass.
I remember that.
Because the bass player didn't come back. And so it was everybody but the bass player. So Flea played bass on that tour. And, yeah, they called it the Relapse Tour. I just remember turning on it. It was a Halloween night. I was at this girl, Lauren Pate's house. She had this party. I don't think I dressed up that night. I think I just wore black and looked all goth. But I remember, that was also the night that South Park, the Halloween episode of South Park, the very first Halloween episode aired.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, like, we all watched it. It was a big group of people. We all watched it. And then somebody switched on MTV, and Jane's Addiction was playing Oceanside.
Okay.
And I just remember thinking, like, yeah, that's cool, you know. They're back together, even though I wasn't really much of a fan back then. And I think like nothing shocking, you know, had just sort of come into my world. Maybe, you know, maybe somebody from Boy Scouts had it. You know what I mean? You know, like I wasn't listening to it. You know, I just remember thinking it was cool. You know, and I made out with some girl that night.
Nice.
Yeah.
Real nice.
I guess.
Halloween
'97.
Halloween '97. Hell yeah. I saw Perry Farrell in '07.
Just by himself?
Well, it was satellite. It was Perry Farrell's satellite party, but it was like a couple of his new songs, and then a lot of just Jane's Addiction and Porno for Pyros and stuff like that. So that was really awesome.
Right.
But I'd love to see Jane's Addiction live.
Yeah,
I mean, I know they've played in
every
years.
now and then. Yeah, they kind of. I guess when someone needs money, they kind of go out and do it. Yeah.
When Dave Navarro needs money.
I remember he tried to do that online song where you send in something. He was gonna like piece it together and make a song.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
And I mean that was several years ago, or you know, it was a while back. But I actually kind of thought the little blog post thing that he made, he was like, I'm going to try something, and I'm sure other people have done this before, but I've never done it before, so I think it'll be fun. I'm going to write a song with you guys. And I mean, all of you, you know, many of you are probably reading this, you know, and like it kind of goes on like, so send me whatever you have. It doesn't really matter. Whatever instrument you play, it doesn't matter. Just send it to me. Make a few bars. Let's say we keep this in, you know, whatever time and, you know, and like whatever BPM. And he said, you know, that way I can piece it together. And but he kind of goes on to explain, he was like, you know, I'm new to Pro Tools. I'm new to this. And you know, kind of explaining why he wants to do this. And I never heard what he came up with, but, you know, someone said it was kind of weird. So,
yeah.
But I got to give the guy props for, like, you know, you'd much rather piece a song together from different things than fuck Carmen Electra.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry, babe. I got to write this song with the world.
Your old news.
Yeah, your old news.
Get out of here.
So,
sure.
I mean, yeah, there's been a lot of, I mean, I you know, what are some, I know we mentioned The Police as one that we weren't really excited about. We thought it kind of sucked anyway.
Yeah.
Can you think of another one that sort of, you know, because I think lately we've kind of been praising most of these reunions as like, you know.
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, most of them have been good.
Yeah.
Like
I know the Black Flag thing is just, you know.
Yeah.
A bunch of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't really think of one in recent years that have been like where you just kind of like, really?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, the past few years when Toadies got back together, that was pretty good. I don't guess it's original lineup, but they still sound amazing. And
they, you know, I think it's funny about them because I don't really classify them as a band that broke up.
Yeah, they just kind of hiatus for a while.
Yeah, like they technically never broke up.
Yeah,
at least in my opinion.
They just kind of went away for a while.
Yeah, and that's kind of how like some of these bands are or were, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you know, 'cause hell, this could be a whole other podcast where we define the breakup. You know, what
Right.
is a band breaking up?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, because I am of the belief that bands don't really break up anymore. And I know we touched on that the other night. You know, just
Mm-hmm.
you know, Guided by Voices is a great example.
Yeah.
They broke up, they came back, and you thought they were back. They made like 3 albums and put out a bunch of singles and stuff, and now they're broken up again.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like,
Now they are.
yeah, they're broken up again.
Didn't they just tour?
I was gonna go see them in October,
Yeah.
and they canceled all those dates.
Did they really?
Yeah.
That's shitty.
Mm-hmm. Like they announced them,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was like, oh, cool. And I called or emailed Matt and Brad in
Yeah.
Chattanooga. I emailed them and I said, hey, I'm gonna go to this Nashville show. Hope you guys are coming up. And they said, of course we are. And then the next day, the announcement came out that the shows have been canceled, and only one of them actually went on sale. And
That's it.
that was it.
Wow.
That they were calling it quits. That their reunion was good, and you know that was it.
That's so terrible.
So that kind of sucks, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just glad bands like Nirvana never tried to do it again, you know.
Yeah, that's like Sublime.
Yeah.
Like they've got, I don't know what
Okay, that's one that sucks. Okay,
with
yeah.
Rome is. I don't know what with Rome means,
Who
but
the hell is that?
I don't know. I've seen, they play everywhere now. Like they're playing
Coming here, yeah.
Yeah, they're playing like the amphitheater or something, aren't they? But I don't know who that is. I don't want to know who that is. You know, Sublime died when Bradley Knoll, when
Yeah.
he died. Like that's it. That's Sublime. He was
Yeah.
Sublime. I mean, he was a third of Sublime, but I mean, he was the main third.
Well, you know, Queen did that tour
Mm-hmm.
with the guy that came, you know, he didn't win American Idol that year. He came in second place.
Yeah.
And Queen did that tour with him singing all the songs.
Yeah.
And I saw some videos of it, and I was like, you know what? Aside from, you know, maybe Sacha Baron Cohen
Mm-hmm.
being the lead singer of Queen or something like that, that was really good. Like,
Yeah.
you kind of had to be like, it's like that moment like in High Fidelity, and he's like, oh, it's really fucking good. Like,
Yeah.
you're so disgusted that it's that good.
Yeah.
And they came. They didn't come here. They came to Atlanta, and I knew somebody that drove to Atlanta to see it, and they said it was really good. They said it was a good show. You know.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't Queen, but you know, it was still some resemblance of Queen. You
Right.
know? So that's kind of one I'm like, you know, at least they didn't call it Queen. You know, they called it Queen with whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I also sort of say that like Brian May is half of Queen. You
Yeah.
know. So there is some sort of legitimacy to that, you know. I mean, we can't dig up Freddie Mercury. It's not like Freddie Mercury's just a millionaire sitting on his beach house and doesn't want to do the reunion.
Right.
He's dead. So
Yeah.
it's like you got to make do in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I'll go half on that one. You
Yeah.
know. I'm kind of disgusted to say that I enjoyed some of those videos.
But I wouldn't pay to see that.
Oh, fuck no.
Like I wouldn't go to
Oh,
that.
hell no. Unless I got a free ticket.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I just couldn't do it.
I will back you up on that.
Because that's just stadium bullshit. You got to deal with all the bullshit, all the drunk assholes that are singing the high parts to Bohemian Rhapsody.
And they
You know,
can't do it.
yeah, you don't want to hear that shit.
I don't even try doing that when I'm alone in my car.
No, you
'Cause
shouldn't.
I don't even like the way I sound when I try to sing Bohemian Rhapsody.
Nobody does.
You know, I mean, that's like me trying to do like the 30-part harmony part by myself.
Right.
You know, I mean,
You're picking each little part as you sing it. Like I want to go up, I want to go down, up,
Yeah.
down.
you know,
Yeah.
and you can't because you're trying to find the middle.
Oh, exactly.
You can't sing those high or low parts anyway, so it doesn't really matter. You know,
Nope.
I mean, that's the genius about that. I mean, only certain people can do that because it's 24 parts
Mm-hmm.
all stacked together
Yeah.
and then mixed stereo. You know, I just like, yeah. So yeah, Stadium Rock. You know, at least when I was at the Who, like my brother and I were the only ones singing along. I kind of felt like that, you know.
Yeah.
A bunch of old people. Yeah.
Well, and it's cool when we saw McCartney as well. Of course, we didn't see him in a stadium, but everybody's singing every single word. So, and it's loud enough to where you don't hear everybody.
Do you know what cracked me up? When we were at Bonnaroo seeing Paul, these girls standing in front of us. You remember there's just there's girls. Probably, I mean, I could easily forget them if they hadn't turned around and said this to me. They said, "Wow, you know all the songs." I'm like, that's sad that you don't know this one.
Right.
You know, I mean,
it's like everybody should know all the songs.
But I'm kind of thinking like, I hope she runs out and I don't care if you download them illegally. I hope you run out and buy Band on the Run. You know, because it seemed to me that those girls only knew the Beatles songs.
Yeah.
It really seemed to me that there were people in the crowd where it's sort of like they only knew the Beatles songs, but they were kind of like, oh, cool. He's doing a Wings song, you know. They were cool with it, you know, and so because it was really half and half, you know. I mean, it wasn't, you know. So
yeah, there was a lot of Wings.
So I was kind of thinking like, I hope this inspires you to go out and buy, or not pay for it. I don't care, whatever, you know.
Right, just listen to it.
You know, just get it and enjoy it, and that way you'll be like, okay, yeah, I know why that dude was freaking out. I know why he was crying during this.
Right. By all the tears.
Now I know why. You know. Blur. I mean, Blur's another one, but did Blur really break up?
I think so. I think
that was a legitimate breakup.
You
know, but they also have done that quiet reunion thing.
I know, when they're not fucking coming anywhere around here, and it sucks. I don't want to drive to Chicago. I would drive to Chicago to see it, but it takes a lot of money.
I don't know. I mean, that's another one where I'm just like, I've always been indifferent with them. You know, I like them, but I don't like everything. You know, they're one of those bands.
You're an Oasis guy. There's always like the Blur and Oasis.
Yeah, there's
fans.
Definitely that whole.
It's the Stones and Beatles all over again.
But Blur is like just one of those things where they have like some really good albums, and then there's like some other ones where it's sort of like, okay, I'm not really like totally into that.
Yeah.
But but it's okay, you know. So that makes me not like go back to it all the time, you know? So it's like I think they're awesome, you know, because I know live they're really different, you know, and I've actually I like that self-titled album that came out in '97. I mean, even that was like more of my introduction to them rather than the previous one was like Great Escape.
Great Escape's great, and Leisure,
Great Escape's really good.
Park Life, like those are great records,
you know. But that was it's the stuff. It was the stuff that came after that I wasn't really too thrilled about. You know, it's like the first 3 albums I was really, you know, I was like, okay, I like this. But the ones that came after that I wasn't too thrilled about.
13's a great record though.
Yeah. But they became one of those, you know. But like he's gone on to do all kinds of great things, you know. So it's like, you know, I could take it all in one big pot rather than separate.
Everything Albin does is great.
Yeah.
Did you listen to his solo record?
Yeah, it's cool.
It's really good.
It's different.
It is.
In a good way.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing you always wanted him to do in a way, you know? It's like, you know, it's like the piano shit that's on there, and then it's got some of that kind of reggae-ish kind of stuff on there.
Yep.
It's almost like it's like, okay, this is everything that I really like. I can't make a record of just one style, so, you know.
Just put it all together.
Yeah, you know, it's almost like listening to a mixtape, really, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
it's got a little bit of electronica in there. And
it's like everything that he's known for, kind of just stuck there, you know, and just, you know, here you go. All you people who cry to me like that, you know, who don't, I don't do enough of this, it's like something for everybody. I think that's what it really what it's all about, you know.
We got spoiled at Bonnaroo last year.
Yeah, we did.
That was, I don't know, probably a top 10 for me, like show.
Yeah, like that was. Yeah. I mean, really, like when I think about it, like just mostly because it was like I remember we were, you know, we went over there and we found a place to be, and then we were sort of like, well, I have no idea what he's gonna be doing, you know. It was just sort of like it was kind of like, you know, I know we're gonna see him, but I know who we're seeing, but it's just like I have no idea what he's up to.
Right.
You know.
Because you hadn't heard his record at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I don't. I might have listened to it like once. Maybe.
And I wasn't aware that the Gorillas were done.
Right.
And or
They're probably on a hiatus.
Yeah, I wasn't aware. And I know that Blur's come and gone, so I was just sort of like, oh, he's here by himself.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like, he's not playing a tent. He's on the main stage. This is fucking cool.
He's on the main stage.
Yeah. So so just that alone, I thought was like, okay, this is gonna be worth it. And then he just blew us away with this amazing set.
As soon as he started playing Gorilla stuff, like the crowd doubled, like instantly.
It's almost as if they were way over here on the other side, and they were like, "Oh shit,
I know that.
I know who that guy is now." It's like maybe they didn't know. They look on the
Nobody knew. Nobody knew who he was. That was the best part. I think even Daniel was like, "Oh shit!" Like when we saw him, he's like, "I didn't realize." I'm like, "Yeah, this is Gorillaz. This is
the
Blur.
guy,
This is the Good, the Bad, and the Queen. This is everything.
Everything you want it to be and more." Yeah. So I mean, just that alone, I think was just worth the price of admission, and we'll probably have to have a separate blog cast for Bonnaroo. When I come back from Bonnaroo, I got 6 shows I want to see, and that's it.
What's your 6 shows?
I want to see like mini motels now.
Mini mansions.
I want to see Ice Age. I want to see. Cassio says I need to see Tuvlo, so I'm gonna check that out.
I keep hearing that name lately.
Yeah, I haven't even listened to it yet. I want to see Tears for Fears and Slayer and Run the Jewels.
I forgot Tears for Fears is going to be there.
Yeah.
And I keep hearing good things about Run the Jewels.
It's like rap, hip hop, trip hop, whatever. I don't know. It's not quite rap, it's not quite hip hop,
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's some production to it,
Yeah.
Because like there's like a guy there's like an MC or something, or a guy in the group that does all the beats and puts all that together, I suppose, And there's some Kraftwerk samples on the record. I know
Nice.
I picked up on those immediately, so I had to convince the guy at the restaurant who was playing it, like, no, that's Kraftwerk, dude.
Right.
No, man, it's all original. I was like, no, that's Kraftwerk. Trust me.
If you're listening to somebody rapping, it's not all original.
That's Kraftwerk.
Yeah.
It's a Kraftwerk sample. Get over it and go listen to Kraftwerk. It's like everybody samples Kraftwerk, and it's one of those things where it's okay. It's okay because they're pioneers. So yeah, so that's really what I want to see. I mean, I'm sure I might be leaving 1 or 2 things out, but for the most part, I'm going this year.
Mainly to work.
Mainly to work. Mainly to, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where even though I'm really disappointed with the lineup this year, and even though I'm not really into it, and even though I am working, it will be fun to be there.
Yeah.
It will be fun. So I guess I'm mostly going just to be there this year rather than to.
Well, it's an awesome atmosphere anyway. It's fun to be there regardless of the music.
So I'm but I just think that next year will be better. I just kind of think that they gotta, you look at all the festivals that are around here, all the ones that are, they have like awesome lineups and everything, and I really just started to think that just Bonnaroo just probably dropped the ball, maybe chasing bigger acts that they eventually couldn't get,
right.
like.
So they had to settle for Billy Joel.
Had to settle for certain things, but I also realized that there's a lot of people that work at the restaurant who are so excited about Bonnaroo this year.
Yeah.
And I'm just starting to think, like, I think this is not a generational thing, but just like a taste gap, like everybody's so pumped about fucking Deadmau5, and I could give 2 shits about it, I don't give a fuck about Deadmau5.
No. Fuck no. You should watch some of Alabama Shakes too.
I think I've seen them before. I'm trying to think. I think they opened up for who's that band that I saw with Miranda?
Okay, so Mini Mansions is playing at
You know, they did that song, Danger, Danger, High Voltage.
Oh, Electric Six.
Yeah, I saw them open for Electric Six.
Alabama Shakes?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
When?
2005.
I didn't realize they'd been around that long. Girl lead singer?
I could be wrong.
Like big black girl lead singer?
No. Okay,
I
that
was thinking
wasn't
of somebody else, yeah.
I wasn't them.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind then.
Alabama Shakes is awesome.
I got dragged to that show anyway.
Okay, so Mini Mansions is playing at 5:30 at the Who stage. So that's going to be a smaller stage.
What day is that?
Friday.
Okay.
If
be
you're
done
not
by
doing
then.
anything at 3:45 to 4:45, go to the Witch stage and watch Royal Blood.
Okay.
Those guys are the shit. I just started listening to them. Zach turned me on to them.
Okay.
They're who Mini Mansions is going to open up for when I see them
Okay.
that Saturday in Atlanta.
Okay, so you're going to Atlanta?
Yeah, that
cool.
Saturday, which will be the 13th, to see Mini Mansions and Royal Blood.
Okay.
But Royal Blood is the shit. Like, they're fucking heavy and all about it.
I think I'm going to be doing breakfast, so I won't be serving dinner, so I think that'll be good. I think I'll be able to do that. I'll add that to my list.
You can go right from that stage to
Yeah.
the Who stage and see
Yeah,
Mansions.
So they're playing at one of those small stages then, you know.
Mini Mansions are, but Royal Blood's playing the
Yeah.
Witch stage, so that's that one that's right off the side of
Yeah.
what
we saw
stage?
Glossary at that stage.
The Who stage or whatever?
Yeah, we saw Glossary there.
That's going to be awesome then if you're going to
Yeah.
see Mini Mansions there. You should probably get there early. I bet there'll be a lot of people there
Yeah.
because they've got that Queens of the Stone Age connection.
Yeah.
So, but they don't sound like Queens of the Stone Age. Like Zach
Sounds
told
like
me about.
fucking David Bowie, man.
Yeah, it sounds like some '80s awesomeness.
It sounds like Station low
Yeah.
style David Bowie, you know, or like Brian Eno David Bowie. It's kind of
Mhm.
what I've gathered from a little bit of it I've heard. So
And that's who I was hoping was going to be like the surprise headliner was Bowie.
Bowie.
I don't know why, but like Bowie.
He's retired, man. Coachella couldn't even get him.
Really?
Yeah.
Did they try?
Yeah. Coachella's been trying since when, remember Bowie made a new record like 2-3 years ago, but was like, yeah, but I'm not touring. You know, I just made a new album and I'm not touring. Well, Coachella tried hard, but not Coachella, just Coachella. I know Glastonbury, all the major European festivals wanted Bowie that year, and
Yeah.
and I think he's gotten to a point with his career that he knows that he can't play one show.
Right.
He knows that if he does one show and commits to one show, it will eventually lead to more.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that, and that's kind of been one of his things. He just doesn't want to tour anymore.
Yeah.
It's not really his thing anymore. And then again, was it ever? I mean, he always
Right.
went years in between tours.
Mm-hmm.
Always, like just kind
That'd
of
be so awesome, though.
Yeah, I know. I'd love to see Bowie, but yeah. Oh well.
Like Bowie and Prince, those are the ones that Bonnaroo needs to get.
Prince turned it down again. I read that the guy that does Bonnaroo, he has read it. Asked me anything. He said people kept asking about Prince, and he said, we get this question every year, and every year we make an offer to him, and every year his people say no. So
Why?
'cause I don't think Prince does festivals.
But shit, that would be so awesome.
I don't think Prince does festivals. I know they tried to get Madonna several years ago,
Yeah.
and Madonna's stage requirements led to Bonnaroo saying, "Okay, we can't do this."
Really?
Yeah.
Just like her writer or whatever.
Yeah, she requires use of the stage all day.
Well, fuck that.
Yeah,
They would have to shut that side down all
that's why
day.
she doesn't do festivals.
Yeah.
And my sister said, Audrey works in events and everything. Audrey said, "Yeah, I've seen Madonna's contract, and it's because she needs a stage because her band and her dancers and her show rehearse
Mm-hmm.
before every performance, and that's why. And that's why she doesn't do festivals." And I'm just sort of like, well, then just don't do the fucking full-on show then. I mean, you're fucking Madonna.
Right.
We don't give a shit about your dancers,
Exactly.
Like,
Just come out and sing like a virgin, and that's it.
dry hump the mic stand, show us the cones,
Mhm. Just go through the career.
You
And we'll be
know,
done.
do a quick costume change, put on the Marilyn Monroe dress, sing Material Girl, and then be done. You know, it's like, why don't you just do that?
That's all we need.
But I'd love to see Madonna because my sister said it's an amazing show. It's like it's kind of one of those things where she goes all out.
Yeah.
So, and she does this every time she does a concert. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, oh, I guess I'd like to see that. But anyway, back to the topic at hand.
Back to the topic.
Yeah, I would say that I'm satisfied with a lot of the reunions these days.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like Harvey Danger's getting back together and making a new record, but
That'd be cool.
that would be kind of cool, actually,
Yeah.
I mean, at least to some degree, that some of the bands that, like I said, Dinosaur's been my favorite one.
Yeah.
At least some of these bands who do this, they know that they don't have it in them to make a new album. They know they don't have it in them to do this and do that. They just, they just know that they can just go out and play live, and it would still be good.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of have to praise those bands that do that. But I haven't. I don't think I've attended a reunion show that's been terrible.
Yeah, I can't say that I have. I'd have to think about it, but I really don't think that I've, attended anything terrible.
Yeah, I don't, and I think that's that.
Mm-hmm.
I think what we're saying to the world is that we like it when people get back together. We just, as long as they do it right.
Well, exactly.
As long as you do it right, don't fuck up your legacy that you gave us prior to breaking up.
That's why Corgan needs to he either needs to hang it up or quit calling himself Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah.
Just tour as Billy Corgan and play some Pumpkin songs. That's...
Honestly, I would have been much happier if he had just never decided to do it again.
I agree completely. I mean, Zeitgeist was kind of a disappointment when it came out.
But I was excited about it because it was a Pumpkins album. And I still like it to a degree because it is still very Smashing Pumpkins, but there are those elements that aren't there.
Mm-hmm.
There are definitely those elements that aren't there. And so that's why I'm kind of like, like, that was a good try. You should have gave up after that, but he wanted to keep it, Oceana is what Zeitgeist should have been, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because it was a band album.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at the Riot Fest lineup. They just announced the Riot Fest lineup.
Oh, gosh.
I might have to make a trip to Chicago.
Oh, I know.
In
I
September.
saw it. Yeah, I saw it.
Did you see Hum?
Oh, no.
Fucking Hum is on here.
They're back together now?
That's a band that never broke up.
Oh,
They get together
just
every...
go away and come back?
They get together like every New Year's Eve and play a show in Chicago or something like that. Like back in 2000, they played a show with the Lips in Chicago, and I was like, fucking Hum and the Flaming Lips on the same.
Loud.
You know it was fucking loud. It's Hum. It's four dudes playing the loudest fucking music they can.
Big Marshall orange stacks.
Big muffs and fucking the heaviest drums you can find. Yeah,
I saw one of the dudes like on a Guitar Geek or whatever that website is.
Mm-hmm.
One of the dudes' guitar rigs, and it's like 2 Marshall cabs, 2 orange cabs, like a Marshall head, a high watt head, and some other amp I've never heard of,
Like they're making their own amps now.
Head, and then had like a signal splitter, and then it had like, not very many pedals. I think it was like a big muff and like, something else, and like that was it, Obviously, there's probably a line selector in there. It's probably using some of the natural overdrive from the amplifier, but like I saw that and I was like, damn, that thing is just built for volume and that's it. Like,
yeah.
He's not going for anything else but loud.
Yeah. Fucking loud as hell.
Yeah.
And that's another band. They put out 2 amazing records, and that's it. Like, they've got 2 albums, and that's all. and they're both solid fucking records.
Interesting.
Yeah, so good.
I never realized they only made 2 albums.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I just bought that Vaseline's record.
Yeah.
And as we were talking about earlier, I was kind of unaware that they only made 1 record.
Right.
I was kind of unaware of that. And like I said, my friend Blake's been really into it lately, just kind of, and so I saw that and I bought it. I haven't listened to it yet. But that's another band. They made 1 record, and then the new one doesn't have everybody in it, but but they waited 20-something years,
Right.
To make a new record. I think it was 20 years. I think that record came out in 88, 89, so I think they waited 20 years to make another album. So, and that's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, because they weren't like My Bloody Valentine, where just, there was a lot of things working against them. They legitimately broke up and then decided, let's make another album.
Right.
Get back together. They didn't really tour either. It was another weird thing. They didn't really tour. They just made another album.
Mm-hmm.
But I really think it's the Cobain thing that kind of like,
yeah, kind of triggered that.
Years later.
Yeah.
I think people like them more now than than they ever did before, I suppose. So.
Right, when they came out. Speaking of, I know you just mentioned, thankfully, Nirvana never tried to get back together. But I just stumbled on. I didn't watch their Hall of Fame induction.
Yeah, it was cool.
But I just watched some videos. Like, I guess it was last night. Must have been last night. But I watched like St. Vincent singing Lithium with them.
Yeah,
that was phenomenal. And Kim Gordon singing Aneurysm. That was the shit. I think I'd seen Joan Jett do Teen Spirit, but it just gave me goosebumps and almost brought tears to my eyes to see Grohl and Novoselic and Pat Smear playing again together,
I thought it was cool when the video that they showed, the video that they had of the aneurysm, and Kim Gordon is like, kind of like jumping around during the intro, and Grohl is just beating the hell out of those drums.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just sort of like,
oh yeah,
that's how it's done, like it was just like, it's like it never left him.
No.
It was like riding a bike,
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, he's been playing drums and he's been all over the place since then. But I've never really thought he ever continued to play that way.
Yeah.
It's like he's sort of like, I'm not Nirvana anymore, so, I'm going to play like this now, cuz when you're in Nirvana, you play like Nirvana. When you're in the Foos or Queens of Stone Age, you play like this, But just seeing him do that, after seeing him play drums, but seeing him do that, it's just sort of like, fuck yeah.
Like you could put a video like side by side of like Rome 92, and 2014 Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And it probably looks exactly the same, because I mean, as soon as it went in, his head went down, and it's just, he even had his hi-hat up, because I noticed that like right off. I was like, his hi-hat's higher. Because when he plays with like Queens and if he does any Foo Fighter stuff, it's like normal height. But when he played Nirvana, that hi-hat was always like so much higher up. And I think we talked about that when we practiced it the night about, but it's just so strange to see it again. It was like, he's just, his kit was like exactly the same.
Yeah. It was and the way the rest of the band was just sort of carrying that, or, I mean, I'm sure they rehearsed, but it was just sort of like, didn't look like they needed much rehearsal. It looks like it was just time portal, only with somebody else singing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it was,
Yeah, because Novoselic sounded phenomenal, like on Lithium. He sounded great.
So I was very happy the way they approached that.
Yeah.
Do a couple songs,
Michael Stipe is the inductee, like that's the shit, or the inductor.
Yeah.
The best part though, it was kind of bittersweet, because Grohl gets up and gives his speech, which is great. Then Novoselic comes up.
He mentions Chad.
Yeah, he mentions all the drummers. Like, he names all the drummers before him, which was great. Novoselic comes up and talks for about 2 minutes. And then Courtney comes up. Well, first Wendy and Sis, what's his sister's name?
I don't remember.
I forget. But Wendy and his sister comes up and they talk for very few seconds. Very a little amount of time. Actually, his sister doesn't even talk. It's just Wendy.
Yeah.
And then as soon as Courtney reaches the podium, it just
There's
the
booing.
entire audience boos. And I kind of smiled for a second. Then I was like, this isn't the place for that. Like this is for Kurt. This isn't, But
I have to sometimes. I have to stop and think. I have to, I have to remind myself. I'm like, yeah, we don't like her, and yeah, we all know what has happened in the last 20 years. But we have to also remind ourselves she was his wife.
Yeah.
Like
she's the mother of his.
Yeah.
child.
It's just I have to sometimes tell myself that. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we can say all we want, we can theorize all we want. At the end of the day, she was his wife.
Yeah. But and she was very cordial too. Like she didn't acknowledge the booing or anything.
Yeah.
She just said what she wanted to say. That it was about Kurt and everything, which was good. I need to see if I can find. I want to find the full thing because I just watched the clips on YouTube.
Yeah, it's out there. Yeah, I think it's separated though. Like they had the induction, the award, the speeches, and then you have to pull up a different video to watch the performance. So
yeah, each of the songs were different videos.
Yeah, I mean, to me that was one of those like, yeah, it wasn't quite a reunion or per se. It wasn't really quite a reunion. It was just one of those things where it's like this kind of had to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just I think that the musical community or whatever kind of recognizing this, the greatness of, I wouldn't say greatness, but just sort of their importance to, I guess, what rock music is today. So I mean, that's what I took away from it. It just kind of, whether Kurt would have liked it or not,
Right.
At the end of the day, they fucking deserved it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just, do you have to be American to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I don't know. I doubt it. Because I'm sure the Beatles and Queen.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, that's
like
right.
all those guys are in there.
I had to stop and think about that recently.
Yeah.
Like, who got in this year? I don't even remember. Joan Jett got in this year. But,
I don't even know.
But I don't even, yeah. I mean, there's a big controversy over Kiss,
Why not? I mean, I'm not a Kiss fan.
I know, yeah. Why? Yeah, exactly.
But,
why not?
They've been around forever.
I was just thinking of it. You got to look at it as is like, did these people, records sold, whatever, but did these people inspire other people that we know today to do what they do now?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, that's important. That's what's really important. And Kiss, most definitely.
Yeah.
Had a lot of influence on people that we liked in the 90s and stuff, they were talking about Kiss, like that was the big thing back in the day, like.
Well, Kiss was big in the 90s too.
Yeah. On their 20-year breakup tour.
Yeah. The Psycho Circus going on. Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget when they announced like dates in like Bolivia or whatever, and it was like, the Kiss is taking their farewell tour to like Bolivia, and I'm like, this is like 3 years now? Like, didn't they tour the U.S. 3 years ago? And they were like, I mean, that's just, yeah.
That's just another one of those bands, like the Stones. There's always going to be a farewell tour until like Jagger or Richards dies.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, Motley Crue has been on a 2-year farewell tour. I think, but I think there was posters or t-shirts. Something said like farewell tour 2014, and in parentheses, this time we mean it, or something. I mean, like, I think it's like they themselves, like
acknowledge.
But you have to think that the only reason why that bands continue to do that is because promoters are paying them to do it. Like it's,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it's all about. I mean, it's just.
And they're getting paid money to do that.
Once again, why I respect Big Black. Announce the breakup a year in advance. Say this is the last tour, this is the last show, and that's it.
Yep. But that's the thing now. We kind of touched on this the other day. This is where the money's at. The reunion. Let's wait 10 years.
The reunion is where the money's at.
Yeah.
That's where you get paid.
Yeah, because everybody's going to come to that, you know.
You get paid for what you didn't get paid 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which is weird.
Like if the Lips ever stop touring, they tour every year. They only release a record every few years, but they tour every single
They're becoming
year.
the Grateful Dead in such a way, I don't mean the Dead, but like in a way where the Lips are now more like a business or a corporation, and that's how they make money. Mm-hmm. That's how they pay their employees. You know, yeah, that's what happened to the Grateful Dead. They had 200 something people working for them that they had to support.
But it's all like a circle, though, because they wouldn't have had all those people if they hadn't started.
I think the Flaming Lips is more like they have 20 people to pay, you know, rather than 200. But the Lips, but that's how the Lips make their money. They know they don't make their money off record sales because they don't, you know. Right. They're very well aware that they make money touring, and people come and pay for their live show. Mm-hmm. They're very well aware of that, and that's why they tour every year. Or they find a reason to tour. You know what I mean? Like they
play a lot of festivals too.
Yeah, which I'm sure you make more money doing festivals. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you make a lot more money doing festivals. You know, and I like how they're never the top billed band. They're always kind of just like slightly down there. You know, mm-hmm. It's like we're here, but you know we're totally down here. You know? Yeah. Yeah, but I'm sure you get paid a shitload of money to play Bonnaroo, or a band like that does. You know. Yeah. So.
Well, and the thing is too, like you know, we just saw them in Memphis. I kind of noticed this. You know, we're getting older, of course, and the audiences are, you know, kind of getting younger. But you know, there's all these kids around us, and you know, they were just so excited to see the Lips, you know, and they'd never seen them before, and this and that. And you know, after the initial confetti and the hoopla, you know, once after Hospital Ship and all the confetti started to die down, I'm still singing every word to every song, but everybody around me is getting bored, you know, because they start playing like Vein of Stars and Feeling Yourself Disintegrate, which are these, you know, very melancholy, you know, type songs.
To us, they're masterpieces.
Of course, you know, they're beautiful pieces of music. And I'm singing my heart out, and everybody's kind of, you know, turning, looking at me weird, and, you know, I'm like, you know, you came here to see the Flaming Lips. You need to understand who you're coming to see. This
is the Flaming Lips.
There is the bombacity, of course, but there's also this degree of darkness, you know, this underlying darkness as well.
It's always been there, too.
And it's always been that way. It's always been that way. There's always been, like, these happy melodies with these dark, tragic lyrics, you know. So I still find it. I just find it funny. I don't get angry or mad. It's just hilarious that you know these kids are like having a good time, and they should. But then they start getting bored, and it's like you need to know what you're getting into. You know, if I go see a show that I've only just recently heard of, I'm going to do my homework first. You know, I'm not going to be surprised once I get there.
You know, that's one of the cool things that I think I've been lucky to experience. That like when I saw They Might Be Giants at Bonnaroo, and I was hanging out with these people, and it was like these two girls and their mother, and one was like 16, the other one was like 15, and they were so excited to see They Might Be Giants. Like this was like to them like the best thing ever, you know, and they did not get bored at any moment during the show. And then you know, fast forward a couple of years, I saw the Flaming Lips the same way. I was hanging out with a bunch of younger people, and the group that they were in, like two of the boyfriends left. Yeah, you know, like they're just like, you know, it's like and like you're missing the best part of the whole show. You know, you fucking missed the best part of the show. Yeah, you know, without a doubt. And you know, and I just. You know, but then the other people in the group were like, oh, they couldn't believe they were seeing the Flaming Lips. You know, they were so excited about it, you know. So I totally witnessed that, you know. Yeah. Like, oh, okay. You know.
Yeah, visually it's stunning, but, you know, that's only a piece of what you're, you know, what you're experiencing with them.
It's only a small piece of what you're getting.
Yeah.
You know. And that's just, I mean, and that's why I think like a band like that is never gonna break up. Because let's say if the Flaming Lips did break up, I mean, really, would it really be a breakup? No, then they'd have to come back 10 years later and try to do that again.
Yeah. But Wayne would be in his 60s by then. Yeah.
So it's like it's kind of one of those things like you might as well just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Save yourself the trouble, and you just might as well keep doing it. And so there's also something to be said about that. Like maybe it might seem annoying to some people that like they made another record or they made another album.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to think that like somewhere, I'm sure in 1976 when Who by the Numbers came out, there were people who were like, ugh, another one. But in 1996, we thought that Who by Numbers was awesome.
Right.
So I like to think that like these bands that don't quit, eventually in 20 years when they're dead or not playing anymore, someone's gonna find their records and buy them all.
Mm-hmm.
They're not gonna remember when it came out or be there when it seemed redundant. They're
Right.
gonna look at it as like this one piece of work, this whole,
Yeah.
this whole linear piece of work. They're gonna view it like that. I mean, that's how we viewed all the Beatles albums.
Mhm.
It's just one linear piece of work. We weren't there when they came out.
Right.
We weren't rolling our eyes when another one came out. People do that a lot now.
Oh yeah.
Hell, people say it to me about Of Montreal all the time. Oh, they made another album. I was like, you should be used to it by now. They make one almost every year.
Right.
I mean, if you're a fan, you should be used to it by now.
Mhm.
So just shut your mouth and go to the show,
Right.
or buy the record or don't buy the record. I don't care. But maybe my kids will look at it as like they made a new album every year. That's so cool.
Right,
Like
right.
they'll view it. Maybe somebody will view it like that. Or wonder why Silver Sun Pickups went 5 years in between records.
Mhm.
And I'll be like, yeah, because they did.
Yeah.
But like stuff like that. Like this is the new shit out now these days. I just
Like I would love to have lived in the 60s and been like, all right, next week we get a new Beatles record. Like, this is so great.
And you don't know what it's gonna be like.
And you don't know what it's going to be like.
No
You
idea.
have no fucking clue what it's going to be like.
No idea. Yeah, that's I think back as I read this book, and then and just for some reading Pete Townsend's book, and he talks about how like to be a working musician, especially in the '60s, and it changed in the '70s, but especially in the '60s, you needed a new single like every 3 to 4 months, and that's not counting an LP.
Right.
A record company expected a lot of output. So you had to be really fucking good to have a record contract.
Well, they gave you a lot of money, too.
Yeah. Whatever a lot of money was in those days, But, like, as long as you produced something, it was always like they took care of you. But that's a lot of pressure, because he even says not every Who single was a hit. Not every Who. I mean, there's some Who singles in their discography you've never heard those songs, But they had to have a new single all the time, They were just one of those bands that had a massive amount of output because of that way of life, because of that way of the industry, and then you put out an album without singles on it. At least the British did that. They didn't do that here in America, But in America, it was almost the same way. You had to have a single all the time, It's what people bought. People bought LPs too, and there's a really cool chapter how he said that Pet Sounds really changed things for him. He said that the LP was the new canvas. It was the new art form, the new this, the new that. That people will stop buying singles, and he said they purposely stopped putting out single songs, for a few years for that reason, because he wanted people to buy Who Sell Out and view it as one whole thing, and Who Sell Out was his first attempt at doing like a concept or something like that,
Okay.
So, then Tommy came after that. So, it was just, I don't know. I think back to back then where, now we have to wait a couple of years for stuff. But back then, it's sort of like, your favorite band had something new every 3 or 4 months. It was just this constant. It may not have been a hit, but you know, it was like this constant thing. You know,
Well, it's kind of like what the Lips are doing now, or
Mhm.
well, not recently, but in the past, few years. It was just like, all right, here's something new.
just feed the machine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I mean, and that's what I think is kind of weird now. We're going back to that, and I think it's all because of wait, take it back. It is all because of the internet.
Sure.
You can make something available a lot quicker.
Well,
You know.
you can produce music a lot faster.
Yeah, doesn't take all this time the way it used to. You know.
You can, I mean, like we talked about the other night at the cookout, like David Byrne and St. Vincent,
Mhm.
they made a record over email.
Yeah.
That's
Fucking Skype, man.
yeah, that's a thing now. It's like we don't even have to be in the same room to make an album anymore.
I mean, it's so funny. David Byrne talks about that. How like he said that there's a lot of people that he wanted to work with at the time, and and maybe he could have made time for those other people, but the whole idea that St. Vincent was like the whole idea is like we can write together through Skype. We don't have to. And it said that like it was like that idea is what sold him. They're like, okay, well, I'm gonna drop what I'm doing right now and work with you, because I don't have to leave New York City,
Right.
And I'm sure Byrne was kind of aware of that, but Byrne's sort of, I guess it looked at it as like took that as like as a motivational item, that like, well, hey, we don't have to clear our schedules, like I mean, just like, because obviously she was busy as shit too,
Mhm.
she had a big album at the time, and I mean, and just think if we had that 20
Yeah.
years ago.
Well, yeah.
mean-
Think of the kids nowadays. Like kids can make music on their iPads now, and that's incredible to
Billy
us.
Corgan said around the time he was doing the reissues and doing all the transfers, he said that if they had Pro Tools, which Pro Tools existed to some degree, it was a mastering tool when it first came out. But he said if they were recording strictly digitally, Siamese Dream would have not taken as long, because he said that a lot of time was spent because they used two 24-track reels, and they would track on one and overdub on the other so they could save the other one as a backup,
Right.
so they wouldn't lose anything. But he said in the time that it takes to match up those two reels during mixing is very time consuming.
Shit, I bet it was.
He said that's how you got 48 tracks to work with.
Good Lord.
That's how you got 48. You made it because I never realized that you fill up 48 tracks, but like you put each piece of the drums on one track.
Right.
You put your guitars. You do a stereo track on each guitar and bass. You do, what I mean? It's like next thing you know, you're done filling up 24 when you're that specific about stuff. And I just love it how he said, yeah, we wouldn't have taken so long if we had that.
Right.
Just kind of.
But would it have sounded as good? Do you think?
No,
Like as
it wouldn't have been
like as thick and as heavy.
It
and
wouldn't have
dense?
had the same character.
Yeah.
It definitely would not have had the same character. But if you're speaking from some technology standpoint, I mean, it just would have meant that the album wasn't delivered late the way it was,
Mhm.
But like from just an aesthetic standpoint, no, I wouldn't change anything about that album. Actually, I wouldn't
Yeah.
change anything by the way it still sounds the way it sounds because of even after the remaster. Even it being taken from the actual master tapes and being opened up a little bit, because
Yeah.
it can actually fit more sound on a digital file. Even then, it still has all that character.
Yeah.
I mean, it has everything, and so, no, it would not have been the same record if they had made that on Pro Tools. Not definitely. It's like Dinosaur Jr.'s records would not be the same thing,
Mm-mm.
I mean, Sonic Youth albums would not sound the same at all, And so,
Like that recording process is part of the the heart of the
yeah, it's part of the charm.
part
I
of
mean,
the charm of the process in the album.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that's how back then that's how it worked. It still works that way to a degree. People still use tape, but they move it to the computer to work with
Mhm.
it, because it's just a lot of nonsense to get out a razor blade and start cutting,
Right.
although they did that for that Foo
For
Fighters
Wasting
album.
Light,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
Only would I trust Butch Vig to go and do all that.
he almost quit. he
I'm
almost
sure
he almost
did.
quit doing the record because he didn't want to, I mean, it's stuff like that I think that have brought us to where we are today. And I think like now, because you got to think when I first started school, MTSU was switching from tape to digital,
Yeah.
and I was caught in the middle of that transition because none of these programs worked together. Not everything was USB. I mean, like that was new. Like
Yeah.
nothing. Like and then everything was so expensive. I couldn't afford to buy any of this.
Mhm.
I mean, and so
But now the funny thing is, all that stuff that was so expensive now, you have right in front of you.
oh yeah, I mean,
That's like
I paid practically nothing for
that. Yeah, that's
you
like
know,
a fraction, many fractions of the cost.
and that's what I say. It was weird being caught in the middle of all of that.
Yeah.
It was weird just being caught in the middle of it because it made me dislike the program. It
Mhm.
made me really just sort of like I don't know if I want to do this, because it was just that's just how it was,
Yeah.
and so and I remember sitting there. There's like dudes like down the hall who were like buying like Pro Tools and early versions of this thing,
Yeah.
griping about how it didn't work right or whatever. And one thing I always hated is back then when you bought something like that, you had to practically buy a new computer.
Right.
I
Or a
mean,
computer specifically for that.
specifically for that, yes. Butch Walker has a really funny story about his first Pro Tools rig. Was he said that the computer that he used was made specifically to run the program and that only.
Yeah.
And he said that it took these little discs and everything, and he talked about how clunky it was, and just you know, but he made the first two Marvelous 3 albums on that thing, and mixed the third one on it,
Mhm.
and so I think back, he tells that story, and I think back to 2001 when I'm seeing this stuff online, or I'm seeing it people who have it, and it just it's so archaic now
Yeah.
compared to what it was 15 years ago. But we've come a long way. But for me, it sucked being in
Mhm.
that position. So I had a 4-track, not that one back there. I had a different. Actually, I've had two different ones. Um, I had a 4-track back then, and I wouldn't say I got made fun of. I wouldn't say people were kind of like, I tell them I had a 4-track, and I tell them how much I love using it. They just sounded so disinterested in it.
Right.
And I'm thinking like, but this is how I learned how to do all this. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I didn't know. I didn't take the cassette out and splice it, but I figured out how to like hit the pause button and I don't know. I figured out how to do shit without having to use a computer, and that's where I feel like I missed out because I feel like I could have applied that to
Yeah.
to that because I've always been a little more hands on with shit anyway. I've always been a little I much prefer having a knob than click a mouse. So
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it's just I think back. That's just a weird time,
Yeah.
But here we are now. It's like the Flaming Lips found out that you can string 4 Pro Tools sessions together and make a 24-hour song. I mean,
Mhm.
Figured out you could chain them together and
Or the last Gorillaz record was recorded on that tour, on the previous album's tour, on an iPad.
mm-hmm.
Damon Albarn recorded that entire album on his iPad on that tour.
I'm not surprised by that because an iPad's pretty much a Mac.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's amazing that it's this thing in your hand it's a Mac when Macs used to be like
huge and
huge
blue and
thing,
purple
yeah.
and green.
I'm not completely shocked by that. I think that's interesting.
Yeah.
And so where I'm at in my head, I'm like, we've seen this huge transition. You have to wonder, like, what's going to be like the next big thing for that? And honestly, unless you're recording the album in your head while you're thinking it,
Right.
I really think that's like the next. Unless that happens, there's not going to be another big technological advance, especially on recording equipment.
Right.
I think microphones are going to stay the same size because the diaphragms have to be a certain size to get a sound out of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is science working against. This is physics working against technology on that. Just these microphones we have. They can make small ones that pick up things, but when you have those big condenser mics, they're big for a reason. And
Right.
so I don't see anything like that happening.
Mm-mm.
Shit, Macaulay Culkin made a movie on his iPhone.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm really dumbfounded when I stop and think about that. I mean, don't you feel like we've come a long way? I mean,
in a short amount of time.
Yeah,
in a very short amount of time.
I mean, we've come such a lot. When was the first time you heard about like Pro Tools or whatever, or computer recording? I mean,
Oh, I mean, yeah, probably the early 2000s.
I mean, I remember there was a guy named Nick. We were friends in high school, and his band made an album, which we thought was so cool. That we knew somebody who had a band that made an album, and I bought it from him, and I listened to it, and it sounded okay. And I said, "How did you make this?" And he said, "Oh, I just bought a cheap version of Cakewalk, and I just bought a microphone to put in my computer, and that's how we made it." And but I actually wouldn't ask him about this until he came to MTSU the same time I did, and we hung out quite a bit that first semester. And then I was like, "That's all you did?" It didn't sound great,
right?
But it sounded good, And I come to find out that back then, like, I actually purchased an early version of Cakewalk 2. I still have the disc, and back then that's pretty much how it worked, because stuff like this were so expensive, you couldn't buy it, so you just plug the microphone into your little audio in thing, Like, I thought that was hilarious. When I found out that's all you did, I thought maybe like you went somewhere and made it. Like, no, I just made it at home. And he said we'd only do one song at a time. We had to like finish the song and move it off the computer because the computer didn't hold enough memory. And he said if the song was more than like 6 minutes, he said that one of the songs on there they had to like shorten it because if it was longer than 6 minutes, the computer would crash.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
Like the first time I ever bought a digital mixer thing. It was a Tascam. It was the first Tascam USB thing, and I saved up the money for it, and I went and bought it that summer, and I brought it home, and I hooked it up to the computer I had at the time, and plugged Jacob's. Was it Jacob? No, I didn't borrow that microphone. I borrowed a condenser mic from somebody, and hooked it up, and the condenser mic is so wide, it picks up everything, Well, it picked up the waveform was so big it blacked out the entire timeline, and then the computer crashed, and I was like, what the hell? And I finally get it up and running, and it won't let me boot because it says like memory full, and I had to like go in and manually remove all of that just so the computer would boot. That one little thing maxed out the computer.
Wow.
And that's when I found out you have to change the input file size and all. Didn't know anything about that, Like, you just plug it in and play it. Now everything it does it for you, But back then you had to manually go in and like change the input of everything so it doesn't make this big 5 gigabyte file. It makes just this one,
And you say that as if 5 gigabytes is like huge.
Yeah.
Like,
no, that's chump change.
Yeah.
Chump change.
Yeah, I was at work. This has been a couple weeks ago. What was the size of that jump drive? It was over 200 gigs. It was a flash drive. I was like, this is insane.
I've got the first one I ever had. It's 256 megabytes.
Yeah.
That thing cost $100 in 2001. I didn't pay for it. I didn't buy it. I found it at the library.
Yeah.
Someone left it in the computer, and I took it, and I used it for years. I saved all my schoolwork on it to the day I graduated.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was about to say, the only thing you can save on that is Word documents.
Word documents.
It's just text documents. You probably couldn't even put 3 songs on it.
I have a 1 gigabyte one that I got when I worked at Target, and it's a Samsung, and this thing retailed for like 130, 150 bucks because you could actually plug a pair of headphones in it and play and play the songs you save on it.
Okay.
This is in 2004. It's the first year I worked at Target, first Christmas I worked at Target, and they were giving these things away.
Nice.
Because Samsung was shipping their version of the iPod that Christmas,
Yeah.
and these things were so obsolete. I mean, it was just like, and we didn't even have them that long. I mean, but they had all kinds of stuff like that. They were just like, so I didn't even pay for that thing. It barely works anyway. So
yeah,
because it's so outdated. Like I stick it in here, and I have to like go to a website just to get it to work.
Right.
Because it can't update the software on it. Like,
because it's just too archaic now.
Yeah, it's so archaic. I recently moved everything off of it now, so I don't even need it anymore. I don't know why it's sitting back there, but like, just like it's like, I think that's what's going to be interesting. Like computer shit's going to be that archaic where you can't even update it. Oh, iPods are like that now. You can't even update iPods now.
Yeah, my old iPod, I keep it on my dock, on my alarm clock, and I go to sleep to it every night. I've got natural sounds that I like, white noise that I put on to go to sleep to, like the ocean or rainforest or thunderstorm, So the other night, I guess we were talking about Floyd, and I was like, man, I want to listen to Dark Side when I go to sleep, because I used to do that when I first moved out here. I had my computer, and I would just leave it on all night and just play a Dark Side and just fall asleep to it. Or metal. Usually it was either Dark Side or metal that I'd listen to go to sleep. Which I have another funny story about metal. But I was like, I want to listen to Dark Side as I go to sleep, but I don't have it on my iPod, so I'm kind of reluctant to put my old iPod, hook it up to the computer, because it's so obsolete now. Like I said, it's a 30 gig. That doesn't even exist like Apple doesn't even make those anymore. The classic now is 120 gig.
Yep.
And it's the same price that I paid in 07 for a 30 gig.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's smaller too.
Well,
it's
no,
thinner.
It's the same size. Is it the classic now is thinner?
Thinner, yeah.
Is it?
It's much thinner.
Yeah. Daniel has, I want to say if it's not first, it's a second generation iPod, and that thing is like it's like a fucking paperweight. Like, it's thick, the screen's tiny. It just looks so funny compared to what we've got nowadays.
I found out from somebody I knew who worked at the Apple store, that first year that they came out, there were these big bricks.
Yeah.
Big iPods, these big bricks. They were giving, they were like $500. They were expensive. Shit. They were expensive. And she told me that when she worked at the Apple store that year, if you bought a computer, they gave you one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And she had bought a new Mac that year, and she said, and I was like, oh, really? Do you still have it? I'd love to just see what it looked like. And she's like, no, I gave it to this other guy who didn't get one that Christmas because he had bought one and they would run out. So I let him have it because I had no interest in using it. I was like, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
But Casio has to have the big one.
I mean, it's thick. It's got to be at least, almost an inch thick.
Used to have that.
Well,
big
it's not. It's
iPod.
probably not. That's probably like half an inch or 3/4, but it's thick.
I mean, I remember when the iPhone came out, I was like, what? Now everybody has them. They're a industry standard. I mean, that in itself is great. I bought that record today. I'm glad it comes with a download. I'm fucking happy about that.
Yeah.
I hate things. It's amazing I even say that now. I hate it when it doesn't come with a download. But I can't listen to it in my car.
Right.
So I prefer that over. I don't mind listen to the record, but like listen to the record in my home. Listen to the iPod. I don't listen to my iPod at home. I don't.
Right.
I think that defeats the purpose of what it's made for. I do not listen to it at home. It's in the car. It's on my desk at work. Whatever. But I can't not talk shit about it because I do think it's a great thing.
The iPod is really the only Apple product that I'll stand behind. I don't like I'm not a fan of the iPhones. I'm not a fan of Mac actually. Just the operating system. I don't like it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem really. Yeah, there's just something about it, and
Yeah.
I'll totally. I mean, this is a PC. This is a Dell-made computer.
Yeah.
We're using Dell, everybody. This is. We're not recording this on a Mac because I cannot afford one. I mean, this thing was like $400. I mean, I've had it for what year is it now? I've had it for like 5-6 years now. So it's like,
and you've had it longer than you would have had a Mac.
Yeah, and it's still here. I
Mhm.
mean, Macs have to be updated all the damn time.
And when they crash, they're fucked.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to take it to a store.
Yeah.
And have somebody unfuck it.
Unfuck it. Yeah, I'm gonna unfuck it. Oh yeah. I mean, that's what I'm just sort of like. And my mom got pissed off because her iPad, that she has one of the first generation iPads, and you can't update them anymore.
So they're useless.
Yeah, they're useless. Yeah, you can't update them at all.
And that is the exact. That's on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Like they made them that
makes
way.
You buy makes you buy the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
They did that with iPods, but I think what's funny is that like they did that with iPods to a success, not necessarily to get you to buy the next one, but because each of those like the Nanos and then the ones, they all had different operating systems. They all had something different.
Mm-hmm.
And I do remember that the idea was that they were trying to streamline them all so it ran on the same thing. But when I found out that my iPod Nano that I got in 2008, 2008, could not be updated anymore in 2011, I was pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
You cannot hook it up to an iTunes and it won't cycle like it's supposed to. I can't use it anymore because the current iTunes is, it's just. So actually, I think there's a website out there that has the old versions of someone's been collecting this shit, And,
oh yeah.
I mean, somebody has, but I mean, I'm waiting the day for my iPod Touch to not be able to work anymore. I mean, I'm waiting for that.
Like I said, I'm hesitant to plug up my iPod to my computer now because when I got the new computer, of course, it was completely clean, so I had to download iTunes and QuickTime and everything. So I have the latest version of iTunes now.
Right.
So I'm so hesitant to, not that it's gonna fuck it up, but it's just I want to put a little bit more on than what I've got on there.
That's why I don't like Apple products.
I don't either. Except, like I said, I'll stand by my iPods, but that's it. Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
Beyond that, no.
I mean, and it just goes like the way technology is sort of. Anything you buy is already obsolete, But
it's like as soon as you drive your brand new car off the lot, it's,
And this is why, I think this is why I like certain things the way I do. Sort of like a Big Muff is always going to be a Big Muff.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different versions of it, but a Big Muff's always a Big Muff.
Yeah.
That
formula is always going to stay
something
the same.
like that. Yeah, it's like it doesn't need to be updated. It doesn't need this because if you do update it, it's not going to be a Big Muff. So it's like a Big Muff's a Big Muff.
Mm-hmm.
You're never going to lose that.
That was me.
Oh, okay.
That's my stomach.
I was about to say somebody's hungry. Yeah. No, and I'll just say that. I'll leave it like that. A Big Muff is a Big Muff.
Yep.
And that's why I own 2 of them. They both sound. They both have character.
Yeah.
They sound different. There's just different character to each one.
Right.
So. Anywho, do you got anything else?
No, I think that's it. I think we've successfully gone as far off topic as we possibly could have.
I'm gonna have to edit this.
Nah, just leave it.
Just leave it for someone to consume. Do you think really somebody's gonna have 3 hours to listen to this entire
Why not?
I hope so. I hope so.
There's 3 hour, podcasts that I listen to that I love. So surely somebody crazy will listen to it.
I hope so. So.
All right.
Well, that's it.
Well, you know what they were always saying.
Yep. They always say, what do they say?
Oh, they're always saying something.
Yeah, they're always saying something. So thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you again.